Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Eureka Conservative Podcast, our only podcast on an evening during the week. We've changed not our format, but our schedule. Our daily one that used to be called the Charlie Kirk rant, the Charlie Kirk. What did we call it? I can't remember. The Charlie Kirk Bible reading Bob rant is now being, thank God, got a change of name to the Eureka Conservative Daily. So Monday to Friday, we are doing a daily summary of the previous day's politics or even that morning's politics and having a bit of a say on that and other things. And I don't know if I got a message here. Okay. G'day, Benny. How are you, mates? We've changed that format. And then on Tuesdays, we're going to be strictly to an hour at most on the mornings. And our Tuesday night is where we pretty much can get guests and have a longer session, a lot more opinion and chat and talk if we need to. So if you jump in on the Tuesday night, we're going to have a lot of dialogue, a discussion, a debate if necessary. We may have a little bit of that in the morning, but it's going to be strictly cut back to an hour. So if you're a political junkie and you want to sit with a debate going on in the background or that you want to watch for, we can take hours on end. Benny, who just said g'day then. Me and Ben can talk for hours, which is probably not going to keep going that long because I need to get up in the mornings now. So anyway, tonight is the real podcast where we sink our teeth into that and people can get their fix on politics and all sorts of debates about everything. The last one we had with our Big J crew, we talked about everything for 5.5 hours. Good luck to anyone who watched it all. You have to be a political junkie to be into that. But if you did go through it, it was a really productive conversation. And hopefully we can turn the Tuesdays into that a little bit more. We still might have some special events as well, as we've done in the past. But tonight, it's the political junkies, and isn't there a lot? Not a long one tonight for me, mate. Did you want to come on, Ben? If you want, just send me a message. And I'll send you the invite. Sorry, just getting distracted by Ben yet again. For those that don't know, Ben from Australian Talk, if you don't know who he is. Good young guy, comes on, contributes a lot. We have good discussions. So anyway, there's a lot of talk that goes on about a lot of nonsense, which we'll get to a little bit later. And for example, the big political discussion going on today was about Barnaby telling his dog to sit. Never mind that Victoria is $200 billion in debt. Never mind that federally we've nearly got $1 trillion in debt. Never mind we've got bloody a housing crisis. Never mind that we've got an immigration crisis. Barnaby raised his voice to tell his dog to sit. Now, I'm an animal lover, but I'm not going to sit here and lie. All right, JJ. Oh, here it is. My mutt is beautiful. I love him to death. But there are times he annoys me like any child does. And I will raise my voice and tell him to sit or to stay or to be quiet, especially when he's barking at the moon at the night, So dogs, like kids, are sent to test you as well as love you. And the vast bulk of the time, there's nothing but love between me and my dog. And he's like a member of the family, but like any member of the family too, I raise my voice to get his attention, to make him stop. I got another message from Ben. So I just find that it's absurd. Okay, Ben's going to come on. Just hold on. I've got to send Ben a invite. It's always good when we've got a couple of us. Just sending him the invitation into the podcast. And that invitation, by the way, is open to anybody who wants to jump on. As long as, like Ben, you're a reasonable person, we can have a sensible conversation and we'll talk about all sorts of things. So, the So I'll get my monologue in while Ben's jumping on. One thing I want to go through tonight is, and it just annoyed me. It's annoyed me with Liam Bartlett's interview where he talked about Pauline Hanson's ex-husband from 30 years ago. I mean, who cares? Seriously, the fact that, it's a big hoo-ha about having an interview with Tommy Robinson, though it wasn't such a big hoo-ha. We find out today that Channel 7 set up that meeting. So, the whole hypocrisy about all of this. Do we take, for example, does the media cover all the meetings that we had the Governor General today having an imam welcome her to our governor's house, the federal Governor General, and he's had meetings with Hamas leaders. Where's the big controversy there? So, they're going to come for Pauline and One Nation no matter what. It's up to them to sort it out. For me, I want to go over, and I talked to a couple on the net the other day, because we all do it. We all whine about what our problems are, but we never actually come up, a lot of people, with the solutions to fix them. So the big solution that everyone is talking about is remigration and deportation, right, for immigration. One, I don't think it's a feasible strategy. We have remigration and deportation? Yes, for illegals. Yep. There's others that you would consider, for example, the ISIS prize or what, if you can do it. But you're not going to be able to do it to the extent where you're going to reduce our population, as some are saying, by millions. I just can't see how that happens. And there's other ways and means of doing this anyway. There's a fear out there, for example, on immigration, that we're going to be overwhelmed. Everyone just looks through the prism of our current constitution and our current democratic setup. The governors in each state, the parliaments in each state, the constitutions in each state, the federal constitution. Not many people go outside that box to see how it could be done better. Our constitution was done where they put it into effect in 1901. Obviously, there's been changes to it since then. But, that document would have been written, 5-10 years before it, with changes and whatever. But it's now, 130 years on, nearly, and maybe it's time we had an update. If you're in a business, if you're in a non-profit organisation, if you're in a company, you always regenerate your constitutions. It just makes sense. For example, back in 1901, they never had the internet. They never had mobile phones. They certainly didn't have AI. They never had the car. They never had planes. All this was new technology. The world has changed. They weren't dealing with the same problems they're dealing with now. It was nearly unheard of in 1901 for most people to go to university, for example. So back then, they had the education coming from home and from primary and secondary school, where most kids left at year 10, if not sooner, to make a living to support their families. That was 1901. That's why most of our young men, and I'm talking from teenagers to mid-20s, worked on places like farms. So worked in industry, all that sort of thing. They left school early. That's why they married earlier. They matured earlier. So the world has changed enormously since 1901. And even their intentions, for example, with the Senate, for it to be a representative body for the states, the Senate is nothing like that anymore. The Senate is a roadblock to good legislation. Now, there's going to be a lot of those who argue for the Senate, but a lot of those, let's be honest, are arguing it because their political careers depend on it. They get on into the Senate on wafer-thin margins. In the lower house, you've got to win after preferences, 50% of the vote. So it's a lot easier to get in the Senate and stay there because some senators get 3 years terms, some get 6. So you can be in the Senate for 6 years on a bugger all vote and not be competent enough to do the job you've been put there to, and that's to represent your state views. So do we really need the Senate, or do we need to either get rid of the Senate, or do we need to modify the Senate? So it goes back to its original intention. Or do we need a new constitution entirely? So something that we've been doing on the Eureka podcast is announcing our own policies. So I'm sick of a lot of the issues. We have corruption, we have fraud, we have government introducing laws that were never voted upon in an election. We have, for example, this latest Islamophobia envoy, which wasn't talked as far as I know about the last election, or the election before, actually, because he was appointed before the last election. But this guy now who's going to lodge a report and recommendations without referring to anybody who's not non-Islamic is now going to try, and the Labor government are going to try and probably succeed in bringing about recommendations and laws that will make our life just that much harder. More money to be spent on Islamic initiatives, more indoctrinations in our schools and universities, more indoctrination in our federal police, more indoctrination of our politicians and our parliamentarians and our bureaucracy. So that's all coming. That's all definitely coming. And the Greens will support those recommendations so it'll get through. Now, to remove it, and this is where Angus Taylor and them have got to have a good look, is One Nation and the LNP have got to work together to win government first. What are the chances of them doing that? I'm not too sure. But then, just as importantly, they have to win the Senate. Now, if they don't win the Senate and the Greens and ALP have the balance of power and the Teals, they're not going to get any of that through. So we're going to be lumped with this legislation and these recommendations on top of all the other legislation. So, for example, the hate speech laws with the LNP stupidly helped the ALP to get through. And we all were outraged by the Bondi massacres, but the LNP made a play for the Jewish vote with those hate speech laws. Is that the reason you should be bringing in new laws? Now, I'm a big defender of the Jewish community, but I'm not a big defender of those hate speech laws. I'm not a big defender of the Islamophobia stuff. I'm not a big defender of the Royal Commission into anti-Semitism, when it should have been a Royal Commission into radical Islam. How do we go from two radical Islamists slaughtering 15 people, injuring 40 more, and that Royal Commission isn't about the core issue behind the motivation that made them do that, which was radical Islam? But no, it's all about anti-Semitism. Got in an argument with one of my hecklers this week about that, but it's just crazy. So, in my opinion, and you can argue with it all you like, in my opinion, we need two powerful things. The first one is, how do we get the ALP out and get a new centre-right government in that controls both houses? Because that's what we need to solve a lot of our problem. Then we've got to revoke a lot of laws, and we've got to introduce maybe a couple. For every law we introduce, I would say we've got to remove 3. That would be more than achievable. From every bureaucrat we appoint, we've got to remove 5. For every bit of spending, there's got to be double that is released. So we're saving money, not going further into debt. So that's what a centre-right government needs to start doing. You can't be a centre-right government when you've got the likes of Jane Hume, Julian Lesser, and Andrew Bragg sitting within your ranks. Just can't do that, or Alex Hawke. The LNP have to split. The LNP, and in particular the Liberal Party, has to split. It's got to split into the Conservatives and Teals, or if they want to go Greens, let them go. The moderates have got to go one direction, and the Conservatives have got to go the other, and the Conservatives have got to join forces. I would argue merge and form a new political party with One Nation, because the Conservative Liberals, so we're only talking the Conservatives, have what One Nation don't have. They have legitimate people with legitimate experience that know how to run a ministry, that know how to run government, that would help to avert all the obstacles coming in having rookies as ministers. We don't need a centre-right government for one term. We need a centre-right government for 4 terms. And they need control of the upper house. I can't see them, the way they're going at each other, getting to that point. Pauline Hanson, to her credit, is reaching out to try and get some sort of alliance with the Liberals, because I don't think the Nationals would have any issue with it too much. Maybe they do. But the Liberals are petrified of the response they're going to get from the media if they do it. You can see it. It's just the fear is dripping off their face about doing that sort of thing. So that would be the quickest way to resolve a lot of the issues facing this country. But what you need, if you can't get there, is whether it's the Liberal Party or One Nation, you need something. They were talking about it on Peter Credlin tonight. You need something that grabs the attention of the media, that's going to sell clicks, going to sell ratings, it's going to get eyes on the subject. So right now it's immigration. Part of my proposal on a policy, and it's been degraded every time I bring it up, but I don't really care now, because I just think this proposal would get us to a point where we could eliminate, you're not always going to get rid of it entirely. We could eliminate a lot of the fraud, a lot of the corruption. We could put in new guidelines and laws about how much governments can spend. We can put in new guidelines and laws, like I just spoke about, how many bureaucrats you can appoint and how many you've got to get rid of to do it. If you want to form a new department, you've got to get rid of 3. You can put those things. We can put in place, through my proposal that I'm about to share with you, a new form of democracy, where, as in other countries, I think it's Sweden, I could be wrong, Switzerland it is, where people can initiate referendums, not just governments, people. If you get enough people to sign a petition, they can go to the government and ask for change. So, for example, we could ask for a change on Islamophobia. We could ask for a change on immigration. We could ask for a change on the ban on uranium. We could ask for a change on coal mining and energy. We can ask for changes on law and order. Everything that's annoying us, we could ask for a change on the negative gearing, which is having a pretty bad impact on pricing of housing for those who've been in there. We could ask for a referendum into the $15 billion that's gone missing from the big build and the corruption involved with that. There's a whole lot of things. We can actually put forward a referendum to enshrine our speech, to get rid of Julie Iman Grant and the whatever department she heads. I can't remember what it is. So we can also put a referendum to introduce our own Bill of Rights. How do we get to that point? I can only see one way. And I reckon the first politician, the first political party that has the courage to do this will romp in an election, because there's so much to sell from doing it. And that is a new constitution, something that is better than what our forebears put together. You can incorporate a lot of that, but we've also got to take away and put in a lot of boundaries that keep our politicians accountable. To get to a new constitution, you need to form a republic. And the word republic is being, it's a bit like Nazi, it's been demonized, particularly from those on the right, conservatives. You can be a conservative and support a republic. The monarchy now is not conservative. The monarchy now are a bunch of appeasers to make sure they can keep all their snouts in the trough, all the freebies they get from the UK taxpayers. If they were no longer a monarchy and let's say the UK became a republic, what are they going to do? They're going to have to go to work. Good luck. But we don't need to be tied to the hip with the monarchy in the UK. What we need is an Australian constitution, an Australian republic that actually defends our way of life, defends our right to speech, defends the taxpayer from fraud within government, defends our ability to stop overreach from government, defends us from woeful legislation that impacts on our lives like we've currently got, and gives us the power to recall a government for an election or to initiate referendum that can negate onerous legislation that politicians might put in. And it would also, in the proposals that we've put, actually make sure that politicians would think not once, not twice, but probably 3, 4, 5 times before breaking a promise, because they know they can be held accountable if enough people are angry about it. You get enough people to sign a petition, you get offer a referendum, you get a referendum, it goes the thing. The research I've done on the Switzerland one is a lot of the referendums are cancelled because what happens is they put forward a referendum to the government, and that government, so it doesn't get, they get the bad press of having a referendum, will then actually come and compromise and meet the people requesting the referendum either halfway or all the way. They'll adopt what's in the referendum, which then makes the referendum pointless, so they cancel it. A lot of referendums in Switzerland go that way. I'm sure it's Switzerland. So that would be something we should be putting in place here in Australia. Great initiative. We need to have a president we can vote for and we can vote out that isn't linked to party politics, just like you have in America and a number of other republics. Being a republic is not necessarily a bad thing. Yes, there's some banana republics, but if we're being brutally honest, we're on the verge of becoming a banana, a banana. What do they call it? Basically, it's a monarchist democracy. I don't think that is the right term, but we're a democracy that has a monarchy onto it. So, Victoria's $200 billion in debt. Australia's nearly $1 trillion in debt, if it's not there already. We export our uranium, though we're not using our uranium. If we're not a banana democracy as opposed to a banana republic, please tell me what it is. And there's other parts of the Commonwealth, for example, South Africa, even though I think that's a republic now. But New Zealand's well on the way to being in a lot of trouble as well. Canada's in the way to be a lot of trouble as well. Monarchist democracies. It's not the word. Got to think of what it is. So anyway, I might even type that in. I believe, and I'll go through this in a minute, that we need to become the Republic of Australia, and we need to enshrine our Constitution only one flag. We need to enshrine in our constitutions what it is to be an Australian citizen, and that all Australian citizens are are equal. No more 3 flags, no more departments that work for one part of the community and pitted against the other. It treats all Australians equally, and it defines what it is about Australian values. That goes into the Constitution. And it also defines, which should have been put, and sorry to our forefathers, you were wrong on this. That's it, a constitutional democracy. Anyway, so we need to have something that can enshrine, like the Bill of Rights in America, our right to speech, our right to movement, our right to association, our right, if we have to, bear arms. We need all those things. And we also need something that reins in the fraud and promotes accountability within our politicians. And recall elections, for example, would do that, as would referendum. That would do that. It's putting more power into the hands of the people as opposed to the hands of the politicians. They would argue like crazy against this. But if we had one political party, some politicians with the courage to do it, I think not only would they win the day on the Republic, but don't forget the last Republic vote failed because it was led by the left. Now, were there people from the right? Yeah, well, one of those people from the right was Malcolm Turnbull, so he's hardly from the right. So there's all sorts of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some things that we've announced on policy on our website that you could bring in under, sorry, just trying to get this up, under a new constitution and under an Australian Republic. Now, I just think, whether you like it or not, we're moving that way anyway. If Albo gets another term, we will be facing a republic initiated by the left. That would be a disaster. All right? You'd have modern Australia coming in. My argument would be, before they get there, we get there first on the centre right, and we become the republic. All right? With an initiative from people of conservative-minded values that love this country. So this is what we're talking about. And one of the arguments you would have, for example, we had this debate the other day, is do we define ourselves as a secular society, not a non-secular society? Got to make sure the difference of that, because I get this wrong every week. I've got to get on Google. What's a secular society? So a secular society, I'm pretty sure, secular society is one where state institutions and public life are independent of religious control. Okay, then we need to be a non-secular society and dedicate yourself, I believe, to the Christian faith. Make that our nation's official faith. The UK, for example, has the Anglican faith, the Christian faith, has been for years the nation's official faith. And the monarch, the king or queen, was the head of the Anglican Church. Non-secular society is one where religion is deeply intertwined with the state, legal systems, and public life. I think if we really want to get to the bottom of this Islamist problem, then Australia's got to become a Christian-based country. And you don't have to be a Christian to believe it. What you do have to do is, what does that mean in relation, for example, the 10 Commandments, Jesus is 11th. What is that going to do for our courts, education system, our democracies, all that sort of thing? Would it make us better or would it make us worse? My argument would be that that makes us better. Nationalism. We've got to be proud to be Australians again. Have to be. Conservatism. We've got to be a country that enshrines our traditions, our values, our beliefs, and what our forefathers fought for. Justice. We've got you can't be a legitimate country if you don't have justice that have had wrong done upon them. Our justice system at the moment just overturns or allows people on bail who've committed some heinous crimes, but they walk and they get away with it because, victimhood. Hope and innovation. We've got to be a country that gets back to promoting hope and providing innovation, especially to our youth, but to anybody who wants to have a crack. We've got to have governance that is, competent, efficient. Now, efficient is a very big word in that. Efficient means small government, lots of less taxes, and can produce results. And the economy and finance, we've got to give our businesses the chance to thrive, our companies the chance to thrive, so they can employ more and more and more Australians, so that pie that the government needs gets bigger, not through taxation. Well, it will be through taxation, but a more even spread of taxation where taxes that the individual pays and the companies pays goes down because they're gathering more of it in, not because we're charging the taxpayer more. So on this, we've got a lot of policies that we'll be putting in. I'm just going to go through a couple of them. And let's go, as we've said here, the Australian Republic. Can we see that on there? Not too sure you can see that as well as I would like. Okay, there's a lot of dot points, so we'll just get into it. Hopefully you can see that at your end. It's very small at my end, but that could be because of my screen. After Queen Elizabeth's death, the monarchy is no longer fit for purpose for Australian nationalist purposes. King Charles, and I'd say his son, is a WF globalist puppet infatuated with things such as climate change, net zero, and making Islamic immigration credible. If you don't believe that, look at what the recent proclamation from King Charles is now. He's there to represent all faiths, not just the Anglican faith, but all faiths. He's being multi-faith. Attempting to change what needs changing within our current constitutional structures and systems would be problematic and face decades of sabotage and opposition within our current system. So we need to change it, I argue, from the ground up. Such a change would need a 2-decade run in government of a centre-right persuasion with determination to make changes. I'm arguing you're probably not going to get that happening. Rather than a long, arduous fight with no guarantee of success, we believe it would be better to tear the entire thing down and start again. A change to an Australian republic would ensure this could happen. If Conservatives don't embrace a republic, then the ALP and all their woke mates will eventually force one upon us. Far better for it to be a Conservative-led push. Any republic needs to mimic as closely as possible the best aspects of our current constitutional monarchy, which has served our country so well. At the same time, we need to remove and address the areas within our current constitutional structure that holds this nation back. That's the parameters of what we're trying to do. Part 2. Our head of state must be decided by a public vote, not from behind closed doors arranged by faceless men and women and power brokers. It's got to be, the presidency of this country has got to be accountable to the people, just like it is in America and most other democracies. The people must vote for their president and don't fall for this argument of cost, whatever. That will look after itself. A new constitution must include a Bill of Rights and especially enshrine everybody's rights to freedom of speech. A new constitution must have a preamble that recognises equally both our Indigenous and colonial past that built this nation. I do believe there should be a preamble for our Indigenous community, but also the Anglo community that built it, to make it crystal clear what it is to be an Australian. A new constitution must ensure each Australian citizen is as recognised as any other and no demographic is given advantages over any other. A new constitution must recognise and establish that our nation came about and was built upon by Western values and principles, especially those of the British Empire. So that's just historical fact. All right. Before Britain came here to establish its first colony through the First Fleet, there was no country. There was a bunch of tribes. The country was built by the British. Were there Indigenous tribes here before that? Yes, they were. Was there a country there when Captain Phillip landed? No, there wasn't. A new constitution must recognise that this country is a nation built on Christian principles and embrace the Christian faith as our national faith. That would be controversial, but I think it's crucial. A new constitution must embed within it accountabilities and responsibilities for our governments, our politicians, and any bureaucracies. So, for example, in Victoria, our Labor government over the last 12 years has plunged our state into debt by $200 billion. They need to be accountable for that debt. If they wantonly and irresponsibly have wasted money and been involved in fraud or little handouts to their favourite core groups, they should go to jail. As simple as that. If I committed fraud within another person's company so I could funnel funds towards my own bank account, I would go to jail for theft. The governments and politicians and bureaucrats should face the same consequences if they do the same thing. A new constitution must be framed to ensure government is kept out of people's lives as much as is possible and to keep government bureaucracies to a minimum size as possible. The enshrining of our current national flag as our enshrining of our current national flag as our national flag for the new republic. So our flag wouldn't change. All right? We'd still be Australia. We'd still have all this locks in. And like I said, more to come, and there is, and we did. So once you've got that established, you can include the introduction of a Bill of Rights. That needs to go into this new constitution. Our freedoms and rights have been under siege for some time now. It needs to be addressed. I wrote this before the hate speech laws came in, before the social media ban came in. As Conservatives, we advocate for small government. As Conservatives, we advocate that we need the government as little as possible in our lives. To counter this, we are advocating for the introduction of a Bill of Rights into our Constitution. The Bill of Rights needs to be addressed. First and foremost, freedom of speech and access to information has to be enshrined in any Bill of Rights. A special group should be formed of high-profile and even international individuals who have a long history of promoting individual liberties to draft the Bill of Rights to be put to the Australian people in a referendum. We advocate that all government departments, such as the e-Safety, Commission, be scrapped entirely. We also advocate that current e-Safety Commissioner Julie Immigrant should have her Australian citizenship revoked if she's indeed got it and be deported back to America. I think we would all cheer that one on. Electoral and government reform. Again, new constitution gives you the chance to do this. We believe the removal of preferential voting and a return to the first past the post system is crucial to a better democracy. The removal of compulsory voting is also crucial. A far more stringent set of requirements for the formation of a political party to stand in any election. We get some of these ridiculous parties, especially at state level. And here I go. I'll shout out to Avi and Monica. It does seem they were successful. They'll fall out of their chairs when I say this. Does seem they were successful in getting rid of the ticket scheme we've got down here. I'm not too sure it's been totally removed, but if they have, that's a pathway forward. But it was ridiculous that anybody could form a party, and they made an example of how much of a joke that system, the group certificate system, was. Part of those requirements would be for political parties to demonstrate legitimate democratic processes to decide both their candidates and leaderships. I would question the processes that either of the major parties or any of the major parties, because One Nation is one of those, whether they have legitimate processes to decide that. I'm open to be corrected on that, but I'm certain the ALP don't, because you have to be allocated basically by a group, the Faceless Men, to be able to get yourself on their ballot to become an MP. I think the Liberals are just as bad. Example more redeeming. A 10-year qualifying period after citizenship is required before any immigrants or refugees can vote. I argued the other day to extend that probably to a 20 to 30-year thing, but 10 years probably is fine. The abolition of any upper house, state or federal. Let governments govern and then be accountable to the people. Now, people go, oh, you can't do that. Well, yeah, you can. If we have recall elections and we have citizen-initiated referendums, you don't need a Senate. The Senate is the everyday Australian. That's who holds the government accountable. You don't need the Senate. That would save us a lot of money on senators' wages, perks, all that sort of thing that they get, and we wouldn't have to have as many useless people in our parliaments managing this country incompetently. The abolition of local government to be replaced by administrators like Jeff Kennett did for a while. Biggest mistake he ever did was not keeping him on. A restriction on the number of government ministries that can be established. There should be only a certain amount of ministries. And if you want to put in an extra ministry, you need to get rid of another one. There's a lot of useless ministries and bureaucrats we've got. It's time we cut them back, and it's time those people went into the private sector. Like I said, the implementation of recall election, the implementation of ethics classes, where before being able to vote, you need to demonstrate you understand the system. You need to study to get a driver's license. You should do likewise to know it. You should likewise need to prove your understanding and knowledge before earning the right to vote. I think that's a hard one to argue against. I'm just looking. We'll go into holding our politicians account. Any politician or bureaucrat who promotes one industry over another industry, so we're talking lobbying now, that is more efficient, more productive, and more beneficial towards our national interest, will face criminal charges. So under this constitution, Chris Bowen would face criminal charges. He's all right to send our uranium to India, but he won't let us use that same uranium. Yet we have to put up with the renewables grid, which is going to be far more expensive, far less reliant, and do immense damage to our industry and business. Any politician or bureaucrat who acts on behalf of another nation's interest ahead of Australia's will face criminal charges. So I'm sure Ben would like that if Ben's listening in. And I'm sure a lot of Australian firsts will like that. So any politician or bureaucrat who acts on behalf of another nation's interest ahead of Australia's will face criminal charges. If you are a politician or a bureaucrat, you're there for Australia's interest first and foremost. That doesn't mean you can't work in conjunction with other countries to further Australia's interests. But if we can be proved that you're pushing another nation's interest ahead of our own, you're going to jail. Any politician, it's treason. That's why you're going to jail. Any politician or bureaucrat who seeks to oppress Australia's freedoms and liberties will face criminal charges. A few of them would be in trouble right now. Any politician or bureaucrat who spreads innuendo and or rumour to smear and slander another individual will face criminal charges. The problem you have in our current parliaments is you've got protection. Once you're in parliament, they basically say anything they like about you, but if they did the same comments outside of parliament, they'd be up on they'd be taken to court under defamation. When we say criminal charges, we are talking about jail time. So we don't want these bastards thinking, well, they can break the law or whatever it is and breach these guidelines and get away with it, and just basically get a rap on the knuckles. No, there will be definitive times for you to serve in jail if you breach this constitution. There will be more added to this list as time goes on. At an appropriate time, we'll seek legal counsel on the best way to implement such a code of criminality. Through this code, we will ensure individuals who take up a political or bureaucratic tenure are fully aware of their responsibilities to the Australian public and national interest. Any changes would need to be applied independently. The code would be embedded into the new constitution established by a new republic outlined in previous episodes. I actually really like that. There's a thing there, the Regions Initiative. You can get on here. Just go to my website, theconservative.com.au, look under policies and the Eureka Conservative platform. We have a Department of Liberty. We've got electoral and government reform, pillars of justice. Excuse me for yawning. It's been a long day with these morning things. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we come up. It's actually pretty impressive, if I do say so myself. I am looking. I definitely think that's huge. A pivot back to the traditional Christian nuclear family. Give our kids a mum and a dad. That should be a human right. I'm missing one. I'll have to update this. I did have a thing about citizen-initiated referenda. I'll have to double-check that and update my page. So, having a constitution, having a republic, allows you to implement a lot of those initiatives. How many of those initiatives do you think would get up through our current government, through our current parliaments? I'll tell you now, none. Because I'll play politics with it. You've got to get to you got to get it up in the lower house, then you've got to get it up in the upper house. And the legislation you put before the parliament will look nothing like it after the lower house and the Senate finish with it. So you've got to get a proposal, you've got to have this debate, and you've got to get up the idea of a constitution and argue like crazy to have it. That way, it's not going to take you 10 years. It's going to take you one election cycle, and you can do tremendous change for the better for this Australian country of ours. Tremendous change for the better. Because it all goes into that constitution, and from that point on, anyone would have to operate under those constitutional proceedings. Don't forget, in a referendum, you are putting forward the concept of a republic and its constitutions and its Bill of Rights and a lot of those things that I've just talked about there. This is what it's going to look like under a Republican constitution in Australia. So I just think that's what it should be. So we're still waiting for Benny to get on board. Let's see if there's any troubles at his end. Don't think so. We will go into, I'm so sorry for your little beggar's here. I might let him go on a little bit while I go get myself a cup of coffee. Where is it? What am I looking for? Yes, X. I'll get out of that. Let's go through a few events of the day while we're waiting for Ben. Let's see what Benny's got to say. All right, as you can see from some of these, I'm a Richmond supporter. Nothing much there. Pivotonian of Geelong, good man. Watch the One Nation Australia poll go up another few points after this week, and today's only Tuesdays. Polls come Sunday each week. So I agree with him there. I think this whole attack on One Nation and for a dog, for heaven's sakes, just ridiculous. So I do agree with Pivoton that the polls will come out and you'll see a rise in the One Nation vote. I think you'll certainly see a decline in the Liberal Party vote and the ALP vote. We'll see where we're going to on that. What do we got here? Pauline Hanson announces plans to adopt master. Yeah, well, okay. Well, good. Let's listen to what she's got to say here.
Pauline Hanson is taking new inspiration from Donald Trump, proposing to copy the US president's approach to kicking out illegal immigrants. But instead of selling the idea today, she was forced to go into bat for Barnaby Joyce over a bizarre outburst on live TV.
On ABC's 7:30, dogged by an interruption, Barnaby Joyce barks an order.
I think, sit down! Sorry. It's a dog.
Challenging the truism that if you want a friend in politics, get a dog.
Really? This is all our media and politicians got to speak about. He's just told his dog to sit down. As you can see, he's outside. You don't know what that dog is getting into at the moment. Could be digging a hole. Could have brought back a dead rat. Who knows? But it's obviously got the Barnaby, and he's telling that dog to sit down. Why is that on the mainstream media? Why is that a political issue?
Sit down!
I don't know what the situation was. I don't know what sort of day he had.
Asked if it seemed just a little erratic, bristly.
Well, the way he's told the dog, shut up. So what is your problem with that?
Back from the UK and Italy at a West Australian Leadership Matters breakfast, reacting to this image.
Fight, fight, fight.
And again, Mark Riley, he's such a wanker. What's the issue with that? Why has he even edited that into his clips? That was a famous thing. I mean, I just don't get why that's a political point.
Revealing she would shadow Donald Trump's approach on mass deportations.
Trump said, OK, all those that are in the country illegally, I'll actually give you a one-way ticket out of the country.
Warning Australia's 77,000 illegal immigrants to fly out or be thrown out.
Hooray! Why is that controversial? If they're an illegal immigrant, they shouldn't be in Australia. They should be gone.
Is it a Trump-style ICE thing that you imagine, or how does it?
How about I work with the departments that know possibly who they are?
After 2 weeks overseas, she says seeing what happens when countries go bad, Pauline Hanson says she'll now spend many more weeks on a national listening tour, hearing what Australians think.
Pubs, businesses, kitchen tables, rooms like this one, maybe even a few fish and chip shops.
Asking one central question.
What's holding you back?
The answer's shaping policies for the next
We all know that. Government and media.
election, hoping to win government.
If I was ever in that position, which could happen at the next election, to take on the position of being Prime Minister of this country, I could do it.
But says she'd be happy if there was someone better, anyone but the current leadership.
It is the worst.
And this is what I was saying at the start of the episode, is I actually think the Conservatives, the Liberal Party should split. Moderates go one way, Conservatives go the other. And I think if that happened and there was a better person to be Prime Minister, I think Pauline Hanson, I think she's a woman of her word. I think she would step aside and let that person take it. She would have completed the job of saving Australia anyway. But if she wants to be Prime Minister, she's earned that right.
Government, the worst Prime Minister.
Although one who thinks it's not always the dog that bites.
Sit down!
Pauline Hanson erupted herself at suggestions she's advocating for a return of the White Australia policy, but insisting she would ban anyone from what she called radical Islamic countries, naming Somalia, Sudan and Pakistan as examples, leading to this exchange.
How does that make you a proponent of the White Australia policy? That's just common sense. Why? This is a question that gets asked all the time. Why are we importing people from war-torn countries who come onto our streets with low respect for human life and ownership and property and all that sort of thing? Why are we doing that? Again, media making a big hoo-ha over nothing.
With West Australian editor Chris Dorr.
In a way, though, that is a version of a White Australia policy, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not. So don't go there with me, I'll tell you what, because I won't stand for it.
That inspiring many One Nation supporters in the room as you could hear to stand themselves and applaud. Mitch.
Political editor Mark Riley, thank you.
As they should have applauded. Good on her. Again, they're just trying to set her up for failure. It's just a joke. It really is. But that is the government and media we've got to deal with for the next 2 years or more. It's going to be really interesting. Daniel, good on you, Daniel. Shout out, mate. Took myself to the Odyssey on Tide Harsh Tuesday. Daniel, 3-hour film on a daybed. God, me, place your bets whether I stay awake, caffeinated. 3 hours. I've got to go see it. I'm just curious.
You're defending your leader, but are you really comfortable with where she is taking? You're defending your leader, but are you really comfortable with where she is taking you?
I think, sit down! Sorry.
You're defending your leader.
That's good. I thought it was just going to be a replay of that, but he's telling Elbow. I love it. God memes are great. Here we go. Dr. Monique Ryan on a climate change nonsense again. God, she's boring. Curious about everyone's experience as a paid user of X. This could be interesting. Hi all, I'm in Australia and pay $16 per month for the premium subscription with X, which is supposed to give me a lesser amount of ads, longer posts and videos, and a bigger reply rate with the I'm a celebrity blue tick. Thought it was a bit more expensive than $16, but I mostly care about having fewer ads, but almost every second post I see in my feed is a bloody ad. And even when I flag those ads as not interested, I still keep getting them. I messaged support asking why every second post is an ad, and they basically said, if I want no ads, upgrade to premium. That's a huge jump to $80 per month and pretty pricey. What's everyone else on? Good question. I definitely am not on the $80 a month, but I also I barely get any ads. I've got the blue tick. Don't know what everyone else has got there. Sent through what you get. I thought it was more like about $30 to $40 a month, but I could be wrong. Here we go. The Australian Manufacturers Workers Union says Australia should remove symbols of oppression, including the Union Jack and colonial statues, as delegates prepare to gather for Labor's National Conference. I told you, ALP is coming for our flag. It's coming for our colonial past. It's coming for our history. It's coming for the Constitution. It will go Republic. I'm telling you now. They will have their things and they will build into the lead up of 2028. It'll be one of their key platform policies to become a republic. If any Conservative Party was smart, they would jump all over this before the ALP did and lead the charge. But no, it'll be an ALP-initiated republic and we'll be in a bit of trouble.
I'm 19 and I'm taking action on stolen Aranda country. Sovereignty was never ceded. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. And
does she look Australian to you? A bulging-eyed mystery meat woman decided to use a steering wheel lock on her neck to protest Pine Gap and some stolen land bullshit to extort money from White Australia. I'm not too sure she's even Indigenous.
I am locked on to the wheel of a car blocking the one road in and one road out to Pine Gap. Pine Gap is the most significant US intelligence facility outside of the US, and it's part of the war machine that is genociding people across the world and massacring people on this continent. It continues the exploitation of the land and the people all across the world.
How does Pine Gap do that across all of the world? The exploitation. These are just indoctrinated talking points that these kids get through university. They should be out enjoying life, but no, this dumb one has got herself locked into the steering wheel.
And we support the...
There you go.
We support the...
So she's got someone feeding the line.
And we support...
There we go.
And massacring people on this continent. It continues the exploitation of the land and the people all across the world.
And we support the...
We support the Hayes family and everything that they've done, and Auntie Felicity and all of their demands. This horrible place is... I'm 19 and I'm taking...
Totally indoctrinated, totally used and abused, being fed lines.
Schoolboy is undergoing emergency surgery after he was stabbed in a shocking attack in Melbourne's southeast. Live to Jacqueline Stanley in Cranbourne South. Jack, it happened moments after school was out for the day.
Less than 100 metres from the gate, Karina, the 15-year-old was walking with two other friends when he was set upon by a group of three hooded youths. Police say it was extremely violent. They had a variety of knives and machetes and charged at the boys, slashing the victim to the back, neck and hands as he struggled to get away. He managed to escape and walk back to the school, where other students have told me they saw him with blood all over his face, and he eventually collapsed on the oval. Paramedics then rushed him to hospital, where he's now having surgery, and one detective has today described the group's aggression as they charged at their victim.
Well, it's similar to a war cry is when you go into battle, and that's what it would appear to be, is to get their attention and to create fear into their intended victims. It was an extremely violent attack. You think about long-edged weapons, and the reasons that you're arming yourself with these weapons is to cause serious injury, to cause fear, and it ruins lives. It ruins the victims' lives, and it ruins your own lives if you're held to account.
The school said...
Unreal. And guess who we've got online? We've got Benjamin. Hello, Ben.
G'day, Bob. Great to be with you again. This is almost becoming a habit. Tuesday night, so I'm looking at my clock. I'm like, I've got to get home. Bob's going to be on.
People might be speaking about us soon, the way we do this. But anyway, we're not right. So, see, you obviously saw that clip of how my great hometown of Melbourne.
Yeah.
He's got is that a coffee? Right.
No, I don't drink coffee. It's fruit juice.
Oh, there you go. I'm going to do something frightening in a minute, mate. I might give you the chair, because I've been yawning my head off. I've been doing these morning sessions. I think I need a coffee. So I'll let you have your own little monologue about the thing of your choice. Well, I go get myself a coffee in a minute. So
that might be dangerous.
Yeah, that could be very dangerous.
Let me figure out a couple of talking points here as well. I think I was going to be responding to a couple of prompts this evening.
Well, did you? I don't know. Have you been listening to what I've been saying?
I have. Yeah.
Okay, so you might stick to that. You can give us your version and your points of view on a republic. And I think there were some points there you would have loved. Did you hear the one about anybody not acting in Australia's interests first and foremost would be going to jail if you're a politician or a bureaucrat? So I'm still adamant now. The more I think about it, the more I listen to it. The only way to resolve our issues as a country is to go the Republic way. I just read a thing out from one of the unions who now want to ban the Australian flag. They want to ban colonial statues. If the centre-right don't get their shit together, in 28, I'll guarantee you now, Albo will go to that election fighting for a republic that will be and if he wins that election, that republic will be defined by the the ARM, the Australian Republican Movement, which has got some idiots in charge of it. Leftist idiots. We'll have a leftist-framed constitution, and at that point, Australia is screwed if that happens.
Peter Fitzsimmons wants
a
job. He wants to be president. What the?
Well, they want.
Interesting.
It'd be interesting to see what they come up with, because I reckon it would have got up last time. The big mistake was all the politicians didn't want to give up control of who could be the nation's leader. So they didn't want to give that power to the people, the public. So they wanted that person to be appointed by the politicians. Screw that. You can put that up before the Australian public. I don't think that ever gets up, because the Australian public aren't going to cop that. But if you made that election a presidential election by the people to vote for their preferred person as president, then I think you've got a chance. But if it was a conservative-led constitution, a conservative-led movement that framed the constitution, because if it's framed by leftists, you watch the oppression in our speech, our movement, they'll have things there. It'll be their dream day. But if you can get some libertarians and conservatives together, you can actually put things there that can make our politicians and bureaucrats accountable to Australians, and you can enshrine our freedoms of speech, freedoms of association, freedom of movement, a whole bunch of things. We could fire Julian and Grant. We could get rid of the hate speech laws. So many things. We could get rid of half our politicians in Parliament, because one of the big things I've put forward is recall elections like you have in California, and citizen-initiated referendum, which they have in Switzerland, which I think is fantastic, where it's not just politicians that can put referendums to the public. It's like a petition. You put up your referendum, you get enough people, voters, sign that petition, that referendum gets put to the public. My research on that in Switzerland, I think it was, I'm pretty sure it's Switzerland, is most of those referendums don't end up going to the public, because what happens, let's say you and I put together a referendum, we get the required amount of signatures, it goes to the government goes, oh, we're going to lose on this. They don't want to lose, so they'll either compromise or they'll just adopt that recommendation, and a lot of these referendums don't even go to the public because the government backs down. The government is held accountable to the people. So, for example, this Islamophobia bullshit that they're trying to bring onto us, you and I could put out a petition on that and say, no, we want to revoke any reference to any group, Indigenous, Islamic, Jewish, Christian, whatever, that is going to be having this special treatment. It's all Australians or no Australians. So you can put that up and get those laws revoked. So it just makes it more accountable. And if you can put that in my opinion, that can replace the Senate. You don't need the Senate. The Senate is a waste of time. It's the one thing I'll agree with Paul Keating on. It's a dog's breakfast. It's not doing the job that the founders of this country initially intended it to do. So give the government a chance to govern, give the people more opportunity to hold them accountable, and then get a better legislation coming through. You don't have to dilute your legislation and your policy going through the parliament, because you got to negotiate with the likes of Sarah Hanson-Young. So the sooner we can get to that part, we will. The problem is you've got a lot of minor parties on the centre right who won't support that, because their political careers would end and they'll be out, their snouts would be out of the trough or whatever. So they don't see any other way to get involved in politics and have that impact. I think you got to get where the big boys are, and you got to win government. I'm sick to death of talking about these. When was the last time a centre-right government, I think it was Howard, and he blew it, had the balance of power in the Senate?
Before my time, before I was paying attention, I was running around, mucking around at that time.
Well, you would have been a little kid at that time. It was Howard. And that would have been, Howard brought in the GST when he had both houses of Parliament. So that's in the early 2000s. You might not even been born yet, Ben. So that's how long it's been. It's always been a balance of power between the ALP and the Greens. And the one time it wasn't is when Tony Abbott nearly knocked off Julia Gillard. And if you remember, we had Tony Windsor and that other idiot Rob Oakes, and they were both left-leaning anyway. So you had the ALP, the Greens, and those two morons, and they were running the country. It was a disaster. So you always get, if you don't have the Senate, you don't have those situations. And people go, well, what if there's no one wins government? So you have a tie. Well, guess what? You do what you do in other elections. You go again in 4 weeks. You know who'll decide that? The people. Because I go, we don't want to come back here again. I'll change my vote. You change yours. You'll eventually have seat swing. So the more power you can give to the people, it's the only way I can see. The other interesting one, to give you a bit of, I don't know whether you heard this one, is if you're going to keep what we're doing to give our chance to win the Senate, all right? So if you're not going to go Republic, you've got to find a way to win under our current constitution with our current system, right? The only way I can see that happening is one way, and that is for the Liberal Party to split, Conservatives to leave, moderates to leave, and those Conservatives to go form a new party with One Nation. Then you have a chance of winning both houses. I don't see you having any chance of winning both houses. And even if you did, let's say they form some sort of alliance, you've got that moderate faction within the Liberals that will tear everything down that you're trying to do. So screw having the moderates in your ranks. Split. I'm actually going to write to every single Liberal LNP politician in the next week and tell them that's what they've got to do. Have a split. And it would actually help One Nation. And this is where Pauline needs to be smart, and hopefully Barnaby Joyce can be smart. What does Pauline Hanson not have that she needs to get credibility? She doesn't have a team around her that's got experience in managing ministries, that has been in government. And if you go in there with a bunch of novices in charge of ministers, you're asking for a disaster. So that would give her people with experience, and hopefully Barnaby can help her pick the best Conservatives. But the Conservatives within, it's clear as day who's the Conservatives and who's not. I mean, in the last week, you've had, what's her name? Jane Hume, Andrew Bragg, and Julian Leeser, all three progressive moderates who belong on the left, not the right, are undermining Angus Taylor. And Angus Taylor is trying to keep them happy. I think if there was a split and there was a potential merger with One Nation, you know who would be the happiest person in the Liberal Party ranks? Would be Angus Taylor. He doesn't have to deal with all the bullshit on the right. And you think about a lot of the Conservatives then that would go automatically into those ranks. You'd have Alex Antic, you'd have Taylor himself, Jacinta Price, you'd have Matt Canavan, you'd have, what's her name? I like
Bridget McKenzie. Bridget
McKenzie is very good. Michaelia Cash is very good.
Michaelia would kill it. She would kill it. She'd love it.
Oh, she would. And they're all then released from keeping the moderates happy. There's got to be something big. If the Liberals don't do this, they're gone anyway. They can't stay as they are and hope to remain a political force. So we either have another ALP government that loses seats, and the best maybe I think we can do, if we're being honest, is a minority ALP government, and then it decides who's got balance of power in the Senate. At the current poll numbers, I think One Nation might have a shot, but for One Nation to have the balance of power, it would need the Liberals to hold their seats. And I think they're taking too many votes away from the Liberals. I think they'll lose a lot of senators if it keeps going the way it is. My guess is we'd have a majority ALP government, but with Drew seats, but they're still going to be able to pass because you're going to have the Teals, the Greens, and all the others. And the Green vote, mate, it's still at 14%. How the hell? We've obviously got 14% of our morons in Australia on a consistent basis. So
they're not going anywhere.
No,
they love it, and let them remain there. Eventually, they will see common sense, I think, and to be damned with them if they are unwilling to come to common sense as well, because we've formulated a consensus, and they'll either get on board with us and paddle with the tide. Otherwise, they're going to be swimming upstream. They're going to find things extremely uncomfortable, not because their lives will get worse, just because they think ideologically the wrong people are running the joint.
No, that's right. But the problem with that is you've got to win government for that to happen. And if you look at the polls, what do the polls tell you? If you combine the One Nation and Liberal vote, you're close to 50%.
Yeah.
Now, if the Liberals split and the Conservative Liberals went and formed that conservative force with One Nation, I think the vast bulk of that 20% that is supporting the Liberals would come with them, because they're not going to go left. They might go to the Teals, a few of them, but you would take I would think, the vast bulk of the Liberals, because they want what everyone we want. And you satisfy a lot of the fears those remaining 20% have if there's a bunch of Conservatives from the LNP that join that force. Now, the interesting thing, and what got me on this was what Pauline Hanson, I don't know whether you saw it, said today to the West Australian business leaders or whatever it was in West Australia. And she continues to say why she would give a consideration about being Prime Minister. If there was someone better, she would be okay with that. You know, so she said today she doesn't want to be part of a cabinet. Well, you can't be Prime Minister if you're not part of the cabinet. You've got to be, you lead that cabinet. That's your job. My gut feel is I think Pauline Hanson, from what I'm seeing, and I've watched closely now for a while, I think she wants to save the country. I'm not so sure she wants to be PM. And which is a noble thing, by the way. That's a very noble thing. And I reckon she's nearly pleading with Angus Taylor to come to his senses. And I think if Angus Taylor got enough of his Conservatives together, it would be one of the smartest political moves for them to split the Liberal Party. You don't have to worry about the Nationals. If the Liberal Party split to Conservatives and moderates, the Nationals would go with the Conservatives without any shadow of a doubt. So you'd have a whole bunch of people going across. I think that would be one of the most powerful things you could get. How do you get there, though? How do you convince the Conservative Liberals to take that action? Because the media would then come for them as they come for them anyway, but they would come even harder. But who cares? The public don't care. When that guy on that lunch turned around to Pauline Hanson and said, well, isn't that the same as a wide Australia policy? The crowd really wanted to lynch him. You know, I think most everyday Australians are sick of this bullshit. They're awake to it. So you just combine all that centre right, and then maybe you've got a chance of winning both houses. Because if you don't win both houses, nothing's changing. Nothing's changing. They'll put a roadblock in front of you in the Senate for 3 years. So you've got to find a way. And if you go as you are, it's not going to work. You know, and they can kid themselves all day. Oh, well, we do this, we'll do. I was listening to, they had a conga line because Sky News has gone with all of them. And, you know, it's all about policy, and we're going to release this policy and it's going to win over. The problem is they can put out the greatest policy on the planet. The problem for the Liberals is no one's listening. We don't care anymore. You've lost our trust. We're not listening. Why should I believe anything right now Angus Taylor says to me? For Angus Taylor to get my attention and the Liberals, they have to do something dramatic. Splitting the party would be that dramatic thing that would get our attention.
I don't disagree. I think Angus's silence is only giving One Nation more traction. He's asleep at the wheel.
Well,
and
no,
he's doing his party disservice. I know he doesn't want to get into the fray of things, right? He doesn't want to get into the tit for tat. He's enjoying what's happening. He's thinking, well, maybe Pauline will blow herself up, figuratively.
See, I disagree with that. I think Angus Taylor's out there trying. He's made a number of speeches, but they're not covering it.
No.
I hate to say it.
He's got no pizzazz, though, Bob, is what I'm saying. There's no energy there. And where's the rank and file? But
it doesn't matter who is the leader of the Liberals at the moment. No one's going to listen to him. No one. You have to be you'd have to be. Oh, no, I'm not going to say that. That'd be blasphemy. You'd have to be
on the nose. They are on the nose.
Oh, listen. I think honestly, I think Angus Taylor. This is my opinion of Angus Taylor, because I've been very interested since he took over from Susan Lane.
He seems like an affable bloke. He seems reasonable. You can have a beer with him.
He's a decent human being. He's a smart guy. His speeches have been good. The only thing I'd be critical of a lot of his speeches and what his policy formation is, he shouldn't attack One Nation at all. He should just leave them alone. But he's got to do that to satisfy the moderates, right? So the Hasties and all those guys. So he's trying to keep this mangled thing. This is why I think they need to split. He's trying to keep too many of the moderates happy so they won't come for him. Well, if you split, guess what? those moderates, if you did that, those moderates would be gone the next election, and Taylor could save his own political career. If he keeps them together, Taylor's gone too. He'll lose.
Let me ask you something. If you were, let me suggest it like this, because I'm not trying to throw shade on them, and I'm trying to take your point. If you're the leader of an organization, the leader, the man, the big boss, whichever way you wish to categorize it, and that is Angus presently, why can't you walk in there Monday morning and say, right, and look at everyone down the line, get them all to stand in front of you, and you roll down the line? Would you prefer to be at the Teals? Because we're going in this direction. Under my leadership, we are going in this direction. We're getting rid of the moderates. We're abandoning you guys because that's got us nowhere. We're leaning into the conservative wing of this party, and there'll be no longer this moderate faction. There'll be no longer this division of factions within the party, and we will disavow. And if anyone wishes to misconstrue, oh, well, they've now gone far right and they're the far right conservative party, that's nonsense. But if any people there who perceive themselves as moderates, who are trying to arrest any type of movement towards the right, or really traditionalism, conservatism, we're talking about the Liberal Party here. We're not talking about one.
No, gotcha.
So why wouldn't a real leader step on in there and run down the line and say, okay, cool, you're good. You know what? I'm going to set you free. Jump on over to the Teals. Simon Holmes of Court's waiting for you. They're going to put you on television this week as well. But we're going somewhere else right now. And it's a new century. And this is what we need to do, because we're reading the tea leaves. And I understand that I have to make difficult decisions in challenging times. And I'm listening to my constituents. I'm listening to the base. As much as you guys want to shut them out and say, no, we're not allowed to even entertain some of their considerations, I'm listening to my members, and this is where we're going. Would a leader do that? Is he capable of doing so? And therefore you can get rid of anyone.
He may want to do it, but all these political parties, they all have constitutions, they have branches, they have, you got your Victorian branch, your New South Wales branch, all these different branches. There's state divisions, and then you've got all your local branches underneath that. So I think constitutionally that would be very difficult, as much as he would want to do that. Pauline, for example, James Ashby, I think have said there, and I think it's, from what I've understood, and I don't really want to go to the depth of this yet, I'm not even too sure people can see the One Nation Constitution. If you do a Google thing, a search, you can find the constitutions for the different Liberal Party divisions, the state divisions and whatever, because I've done that. I was curious, for example, could you take over a branch? Could you get enough people to form together so you could have conservative-minded people going into a branch? But they've actually got parts of their constitution that protect the current setup. And where the moderates have been very smart, they have a lot of control behind the scenes. I mean, it was to me, it was even a very good result for them to manipulate it so Angus Taylor could become the new leader, because he had the numbers in the parliament, in the party room meeting. So if he did that, it may encourage a rebellion, because what you're going to have is you're going to have a number of the current MPs go in there, and he didn't win by much. So if he goes there and he puts out the noses out of joint of, say, 3 or 4 MPs that are there, it might end up backfiring and he lost him a job, and then you've got a moderate in charge. My point would be you need to take the whole party, not just the MPs, and you need to shake it up. You need Tony Abbott should be, he's one I'll write to too. Tony Abbott should be one who pushes this. But, the Conservatives at the moment, if you look at it, you've got Tony Abbott as president. He's a Conservative. You've got Angus Taylor as the leader of the party. He's a Conservative. Tim Wilson's not a Conservative, and he's a dud as a treasurer. And your treasurer is just as important as your leader, I believe, because if you don't have any economic credibility, you'll soon fall over.
He's probably more important, because if he gets things done right, it gives good solid grass for the leader to chew on every day of the week. And any time his opposition comes at him with ammunition and they're strafing him, he can point to the numbers and say, hey, You guys are reading this wrong. The numbers are fantastic, and here they are in black and white.
What did Bill Clinton say? It's the economy, stupid. It absolutely is. If people are doing well and they can afford housing, they can afford food, they can afford rent, they can have money left over for a holiday, and everyone's doing well, and companies are thriving and businesses are thriving, everyone's happy. They don't want to rebel. Hey, life's good. You know, forget the HPH laws. It's like, I'm making $1 here. You know, I can afford the newest electric vehicle. You know, whatever you want. I can afford my membership ticket to go follow Richmond. Who wants to follow Richmond at the moment? So, you know, if you're doing well economically and the whole state is, then everyone's going to be a lot happier. It's just, so you keep the what do they call them? What do they used to call them? Not the people. There was a number. Anyway, keep everyone happy and you'll be fine. So, but no one's happy. And the Liberal Party, if you remember the Liberal Party, how could you possibly be happy at the moment?
They're not, mate. They're almost over it. They think that they're weak as water, and they want some defiance. They want some pushback. They expect better. They thought, obviously, Susan Lee let them down quite a bit. They don't want to be half Susan Lee plus a little bit more. They want to be totally different than her. They want defiance. They want a steely determination or a steel determination. And they want somebody who's such an effective communicator. The media cannot not pay attention to them.
Okay, if you want a prime example, after Obama, the Republicans were in dire straits. And Hillary Clinton was all the rage. And it took someone like Donald Trump to come from left field to turn all that around and win a presidential race. No one thought he could win, though. I did. I won money on that. I picked that one early because for the same reasons as Pauline's thriving, for the same reasons I think Rupert Lowe will do well in England. I don't think Nigel Farage is their answer. For the same reason Marie Le Pen will do well next year in France. People are looking for something different. They don't want what they've seen in the past. They're too used to failure. Your generation, I was thinking about your generation the other day. So you basically were born around when the towers came down in 9/11. And all you've known is all the political bullshit since then. You know, this term, the forever wars. Well, I talk to you guys. I do try and understand it. For me, that's a bullshit term. But I understand if you've been born and raised in this century, the term forever wars, because basically since you were born, the countries with the Western civilization has been at war with everyone. It's been a forever war. And here we are again with Iran. I knew a time when we weren't at war and life was great. And you could focus on your life. You could focus on your sport. You could focus on your social life. You could focus on watching the latest movie. You could go out with your mates, going to a nightclub, all this sort of thing.
It's a different world now. It's a different world. It's perpetual war. Populism has become resurgent, and it's the only thing that people are demanding.
Yeah,
they couldn't care. They want them all thrown overboard. They're sick of the political elite, the political establishment, whatever it may be. Is it going to be uncharted territory for a little bit of time? Yeah, it might be. But people are willing to roll the dice. I think people are willing to roll the dice.
Yeah, I agree. So that's why I don't think many people are going to worry. Like this bullshit today about Barnaby telling his dog to sit down. I love my dog, but he's a rebellious, stubborn little shit at times too.
He's got a real opportunity. Barnaby's got an opportunity to do something with that. We'll see if that transpires between now and the next episode. But Bob, do you want to grab a coffee as well, mate?
Yeah,
because the only reason, if you do, I've fired you across Barnaby's clip. What I did is, I know it was about a 10.5-minute, 11-minute conversation with Sarah Ferguson. 7:30.
Oh, right, yeah.
I chopped it up. I got rid of the fluff. I kept the good stuff, and I narrowed it down to about 3 minutes and 30 seconds or thereabouts. So that's in your DM right now. You'll be able to pull it up. It'll probably be the second from the bottom.
Okay.
So we can kill some airtime. You can quickly disappear to make your coffee. And
mate, I want to watch it now. I can watch it later.
Well, all right. I only kept the good stuff, and I had a bit of fun with it. And I thought, I saw what Daniel's done as well. So Daniel, who was on with us last week,
Yes.
Daniel. He's actually
I
taken it.
saw
And
that.
he's made a meme out of it
Meme
now
out of
as
it.
well.
Is it,
And Lozzie B took it and she's run with it now. And you played that clip earlier as well.
Yeah.
So that will stand the test of time.
All right.
But yeah,
Well,
mate, we can play that. We can, go and get a cup of tea and we'll be back in a couple of minutes and
it'll
then
be
we
a
can
big
address
coffee.
it.
All right. Let's get it up. Is that it?
No,
No,
mate,
it's not it.
It's
Wrong
in
share.
it'll be in your conservative DM.
No,
It should
yeah,
be
I've opened it.
the second from the bottom.
I opened the
There'll
wrong.
be a video, and it will
I
be
got it.
titled Barnaby Joyce calmly tells his that's it, 425, I believe, my friend.
Got it. All right.
We'll just
Well,
get the
playing. I'm off to
volume
get a coffee.
squared up on that, and we'll see you again very shortly.
Hanson's enthusiastic
All right. I'm out of here.
pledge
That's
to
it.
bring far-right extremist, Putin supporter, convicted criminal Tommy Robinson to Australia. Whoever decided that this was to take place, that Pauline Hanson has the ability and the agency you would expect for a politician hoping to be Prime Minister to make a decision based on her own judgment about whether to do a podcast and then have an extended period of time spent with Tommy Robinson.
Tommy Robinson would not exist if there wasn't such a fracture, such a hate within English society.
We're talking about Pauline Hanson's decision and the things that she said in her podcast and in her sessions with Tommy Robinson. Pauline Hanson was filmed driving through an area in the UK with Muslims and with Muslim shops, similar to what you might see in Sydney or Melbourne. She expressed her disgust at what she saw. She said Muslims breed and the taxpayer pays.
There is an issue in Australia that if people go into a form of balkanisation where where there's not an assimilation, where you go into a form of an alternate culture which is at odds with the egalitarian ethos of Australia, then that creates massive problems. And we saw that at Bondi. You can't get a greater example, nor can you deny that Bondi didn't happen. It did. Those people who murdered believed that they were doing the right thing. They had no qualms about it.
Encouraging race riots and retribution against minorities.
When they did go to sections of the suburbs and saw something that was ultimately not a reflection of what most English people would see as England. It's a sign that of where basic society has fractured into two. We also hear areas now where councils are having debates whether they have to speak in English.
But it seems to me, Barnaby Joyce, that your decision to defect to One Nation is dragging you further into a place of intolerance and racial discrimination. You're defending your leader, but are you really comfortable with where she is taking you?
Sit down! Sorry.
Have you set a limit in your own mind as to how far you're prepared to go in your defence of Pauline Hanson?
The Labor Party policy, of the White Australia policy, which was brought in by the Labor Party.
Yeah, so
we do know that, don't we?
We do. As we saw in the programme, Pauline Hanson also met far-right MP Rupert Lowe and welcomed his manifesto for mass deportation, saying she loved it. So will you require GPs and doctors to report visa overstayers to authorities? Is that the policy?
I have to apologise for this dog, which has decided to bail up.
Don't worry about the dog, just answer the question.
Don't be rude. Don't be rude. Otherwise, this interview will come to a grinding halt, Sarah.
So is it your policy that you're going to require GPs and hospital doctors to report overstayers to authorities?
No, Sarah, that's ridiculous. What I've basically said, illegal immigrants, unless you want to keep illegal immigrants here, then there's no point in calling them illegal. If they're illegal, they're not supposed to be in Australia. That's why they're termed illegal immigrants.
Yes, sir.
And people who are illegal immigrants should be sent home to wherever they come from. They're going to pop up. And when they pop up, they've got to be sent off. So if we don't want to enforce our borders, then what are you going to do, Sarah? You're just going to open the door and let the whole world in. Is that the ABC solution? Be curious, Sarah. It's good for you. Curiosity is a good thing. It'll exercise your mind. I don't occupy my day worrying about what Pauline has paid for or hasn't paid for. What you have is someone of the same political side, just like the union movement is on the Labor Party side, just like Andrew Forrest is on the Labor Party side, online travel industry on the Green side, just like the taxpayer for $1.1 billion a year is on the ABC side. I don't know why they do it all. Sometimes I can't work out why they have that sort of loyalty. It just absolutely bemuddles me.
All right, well, on that point, we'll say thank you very much indeed for joining us, Barnaby Joyce. The dog was no problem. Thank you.
What's to me?
Okay, so Bob's not back with us just yet. Apologies. So Barnaby will be smiling at everyone on the screen for maybe another 30 seconds or a minute. It was quite adversarial, that conversation. I think anyone with eyes to see can acknowledge and recognise that Sarah Ferguson is not really objective in her criticism of both sides of the different political divide in this country. She appears to be a mouthpiece, appears to be intent on scoring points and having a one-up against people who appear on her show that are not members of the Labor Party. That isn't to say that occasionally she does scrutinise people from the Labor Party who do appear on her program on 7:30. Of course, it's meant to be the best current affairs show in the country on the nation's broadcaster. But far too frequently, she reveals herself to be hostile to people who wish to put Australian interests first. It rubs some people up the wrong way because it's coming from an accent which clearly wasn't born here. So that makes people throw things at the television. But more so than that, Barnaby was flummoxed several times during the conversation. He got it back on track towards the end, and he has made the viral moment. Some people are alleging, Bob, welcome back. Some people are alleging, was there even a dog there present? Now, I watched the clip, listened to it quite a bit whilst I was editing that short form of it together. And I could hear in the distance, there was a dog present. There was a dog close by.
Yeah.
Some people are trying to scold Barnaby and saying he flew off the handle. Did he have a couple of glasses of red earlier on prior to appearing? And he just grew frustrated with the entire situation. But that was a hit job. Undeniably, that was a hit job.
Yep.
And Sarah, and you can, anyone who watches that, they can recognize that it was certainly a hit job because Sarah had her follow-ups ready to go. Basically, they'd outlined it, they'd pre-planned it. And she said, I'm going to lead him in with this one, and this will be his response, maybe one of three of these answers, A, B, or C. Whichever answer he gives, you're going to hit him with this follow-up, and so on and so forth. So we saw what transpired there. But in fact, what it's done is it's humanized Barnaby a little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
Because people have had dogs yapping at him, and the dog's not behaving. The dog's not sitting on the couch as Bob's dog does. they can, you know, get on your nerves a little bit.
You should see my mate when I take him for a walk. I mean, he's the worst dog on a lead because he's got these anxiety things because he's a rescue dog. And you're trying to get him to walk in the opposite. He just loves trotting out in front. And mate, there are times, like when he trots, he's as strong as an ox. And like he's pulling your arm. So yeah, I've got this big harness for him. And because I don't like walking dogs with the choke lead or just the neck lead. So I have the harness on, it clicks on the back. So when I pull on it, there's no damage done or anything like that. But when I've developed, it looks like I'm one of those, what do they call the trotters? You know, the horses at the trots. And it gets too far ahead and I flick my lead. It's a long lead so we can sniff around. And it flicks on the back. It's like a whipping motion. Now, it can't hurt him because he's got this big harness on. But it gets his attention. But there could be someone walking past. That guy's whipping his dog. A bit like Barnaby yesterday. I mean, if you'd ever been on a farm, these dogs, especially if he's what's the name of the dog on the farm that they're famous for? Oh God, the Australian dog.
Blue heeler.
No, not the blue heeler. The other one, the red one.
It's a cattle dog, basically.
Yes, cattle dog. They've got boundless energy. Boundless. Like these dogs are amazing.
They're working dogs.
Yes. And so you're naturally going to talk to a working dog like that. This is city folk having a crack at a country folk who don't know it. He's on there. He's on the interview. What Barnaby should have done, I don't know what he had set up, if he had just a phone, he should have just turned around the phone onto his dog, and you could have gone from there. So, but look, I've got no doubt it was legit. I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny at the time. I was actually watching a bit of it before it all became a big controversy.
Do you know he missed an opportunity, and I'll tell you why. And I was like, no, damn. And they've done a couple of these, and I view it as a faux pas. I'm like, man, that could have been legendary, and that's a big cup of coffee for you, Bob. That is Jurassic size. That's a TV.
One of my boys in the basketball team gave me that. He thinks it might calm me down. Didn't work, but
yeah, the reason why I see it as a faux pas is what he said, and not because what he said was wrong. He said, "Sit down." Imagine if he had said, "Shut up." Imagine how that would have played out to the live audience. And then he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm speaking to the dog." And the meme, if it had been "shut up" instead of "sit down," and we saw Lozzie B's one there where Elbow's obviously at the mosque at Lakota, and he's sitting there and he's fraught with danger, and it's written all over his face, and he's thinking these guys are going to Allah Akbar me any moment. But I promise you, Bob, if it had been "shut up" instead of "sit down," because he was still speaking to the dog, he wasn't speaking to her.
No,
it would have added so much more venom. It would have added an extra sting in the tail, and they would have lost their minds.
I'll go you one extra.
Yeah.
If that dog was a female, he could have said, "Sit down, bitch."
Well, as a matter of fact,
and isn't there a rap song about that? Yo, sit down, bitch. Yo, there's a rap song. I'm sure you could have put that to the background.
No, it's actually "move, bitch." Get
That's
out the
it.
way. Yeah, and that's actually played in basketball games as well. It's very popular.
It is. So you could have put that to a meme, and
So
with Sarah Ferguson.
the way I actually after I'd edited that up and just chopped it up there, I and sent it out on X, and it's done pretty well. As a matter of fact, all these people who are from the UK who are big fans of Tommy Robinson, they've picked it up and they've all retweeted it, and they've been the large proportion of the people in the comments for that. But I said, Barnaby Joyce calmly tells his bitch to sit down during an extremely hostile interview with Sarah Ferguson. Now, I could have worded it a little bit differently and excluded Sarah's name from there and just says, Barnaby calmly told his bitch to sit down, and left it as that. And so there's some ambiguity there. And many people in the comments were saying, she was the bitch. He was talking to her. And we don't want to go there because we've got more class than that. But we can understand how it plays both ways. And that's why I think I was like, damn it. If he had said shut up instead of sit down, it would have hit so much harder. It really would have. And he would have been on an apology tour right now. I do have something in mind, and I'm going to propose it to his people tomorrow to gain some traction with that, and to not let it die just yet, because a lot of the time the right will accidentally step in mud, or there could be a perception that they've stepped in mud. So they will come with an apology tour immediately, and will immediately also commence groveling for forgiveness. But the left never does so, and the left uses it as ammunition against people they wish to use it against, who are their opposition. But there is a play here to be made, and Barnaby can come out of this smelling like roses within.
Tell us the play.
I haven't proposed it to his
You can't
people
drop hints. Doesn't matter. You can propose it still to him tomorrow. Tell us the play. Give us an exclusive, Ben. What's the play?
Okay, so what Barnaby needs to do, obviously the clip's gone viral. Obviously he's in the news right now. Obviously his name is synonymous with an incident. And there are some people who are even favorable to Barnaby, but they love dogs, and people do love dogs. And they think he was a little bit too stern on his dog, and they're considering the dog's feelings. And
what?
They are. Rest assured they are. There are some out there, and they don't think it was very nice. And they think if someone speaks to their dog in such a way, what else are they doing to their dog? Putting all that nonsense aside, what he needs to do, and I would be advising him and his team tomorrow to do this, and hopefully they do take it on board. Well, you can tell me after I propose it to you.
Yeah.
Barnaby needs to treat his dog. He needs to apologize to his dog because the dog is offended. It's not the leftists who are offended. So Barnaby needs a video of himself apologizing to the dog and making some form of contribution and compensation to the dog for treating the dog in such a poor manner according to his detractors. So what he will do is he'll take it for a big long walk through the bush. Barnaby's going to roll around in the mud with his dog. Barnaby's going to get dirty with his dog on camera. His dog's going to be licking him all over. Then Barnaby's going to give his dog a 2-kilo tomahawk ribeye with a massive bone.
Yeah.
So there you go. But I'm sorry, boy. I love you. I didn't mean to say that. We all get a little bit frustrated sometimes. These bloody Labor politicians, they're driving this country into the ground. So he can explain to his dog why he was frustrated in the moment. And this bloody mouthpiece on 7:30 instead of being an objective journalist, whatever. So there's a lot of room there to run with that. And then he gives his dog a big drink. He gives his dog a bath. The dog comes out smelling like roses once more. It gets a blow dry as well. It doesn't need the pedicure. That's a little bit overboard. And then you fade out whatever this little 1-minute short doco is of Barnaby enjoying time with his dog, and the rift is now healed and there's love between them once again. With Barnaby sitting there on the property with the sun going down in the distance.
Cup of tea.
No. The cup of tea is off camera, but what he does, it's off camera, and he holds it up, and it's an ice cream cone.
Oh, yeah.
With a scoop of vanilla on top. And Barnaby has a lick, and the dog's right there, and guess what? The dog has a lick, and Barnaby has a lick.
Oh, no.
No. You've got
I
to
love
understand.
my dog. I'm not doing that.
No, I know, but people who love their dogs let their dogs lick their faces every day of the week. So it's nothing untoward. And he'll be licking the other side of the ice cream.
My dog never licked my face.
For a skit, though, for a viral moment to disarm any of his detractors and to throw it back in their face, and all is well in the Joyce household again, and the dog and the owner are one and the same, and there's love to go around for everyone, Barnaby would quickly find not only would it go viral, he'd have all these dog lovers who are unfamiliar with him globally who are now coming saying, this is how I treat my dog. And they'd all be posting videos of themselves loving their dogs. More importantly than that, the dog itself would become a star. The dog would become a mascot. And people would want to see more of that dog.
Well, there's your last point. Okay. Well, I think everything you're saying is great.
It's for the internet generation as well, though.
No, I agree. Well, for the internet generation, if they've got people in their office that can generate AI videos, not hard if you want to do it, generate one with Barnaby's dog doing all the things you said there. But then after that, I'd go one little step further. And for the next month, every interview he's got from his farm, which seems to be most of them, have that dog right there. Have that dog right next to him.
Thank you. Okay, so you're leaning into it. You're leaning into it.
No, I love it. I love it. I reckon, mate,
it would work. It would be phenomenal.
Absolutely.
It really would.
Mate,
people would be wearing T-shirts with the dog. The dog would become a star.
Mate, I'd say, since you brokered it here, right here on the Eureka Conservative, Barnaby can come on here and launch his doggy interviews. Instead of doggy kindergarten, what do they call it? Doggy school or whatever it is. You've got doggy interviews.
There's a whole reel of clips that could be made from this. Barnaby's just sitting there.
Hey, and let's be honest.
Having a yarn to the dog. At the end of the day, this is what happened today, dog, and blah blah blah, dog, and
what's Elbow's dog that he keeps bringing out from time to time?
That little fluffy whatever.
Oh, the little rat. Did you see him today? They had their backyard game of cricket, and he was lecturing everybody because someone dared to give it a sausage. I mean, he does.
It's vegan. Elbow's dog's vegan. Didn't you know that, Bob?
Oh, is it?
By choice, allegedly.
Oh, right. Bullshit.
Allegedly by choice.
No dog is vegan.
Oh well, no.
Is that what that was all about? Because he was vegan and someone gave it a sausage.
Yeah, because that's animal cruelty. And dogs don't like eating meat. That's just because humans have been propagandizing them for too long. The natural state of a dog is to prefer potatoes and carrots and eating pure.
No, I've heard that. I didn't realize Elbow's dog was that way. Well, that just makes Elbow a bigger prick than whatever.
I might be tongue in cheek having said that, but it is believable still because he would do anything for a vote. And if that meant his dog if he had to publicly admit that his dog does not partake in meat eating, as Sam Neill loved to do. God bless Sam Neill, by the way. God rest his soul.
Yes.
But yeah, man, what, Bob? So yeah, there's room there, and do One Nation have some creative minds around them that could flip this on its head immediately to gain some traction, and then it'll just be one little thing, and it will pass away in a week, but it will live on forever in the minds of people.
Well, again, we were talking before about Trump. What's been one of the most magnificent things about Trump and his presidencies has been his memes on social media. They're just next level. That's what they need for One Nation. That would be one way, and you could expand this. Maybe they don't have the people there, because you don't see a lot of One Nation memes. You do see the cartoon. The cartoon is brilliant.
Well, the dog now is a regular in the cartoons as well, as a matter of fact, Bob. It's in the background. It's doing its thing. The dog's enjoying itself. The dog in the background of these cartoons is always getting treated like he's 5-star. He becomes the Richie Rich of dogs. He's flown on Gina's private helicopter.
Give it the name. Use it for all it's worth. Absolutely, mate. I love it. It would be a great
taken
way.
on the canals with Gina and Pauline in Italy.
No, even better. Get Barnaby to fly over to UK. No, actually, where could you do it?
Well, it's walking the catwalk. The dog is walking the catwalk in Milan.
Well, the only problem with that, I was thinking fly
in the cartoon form. Like in the cartoon, they can do anything, of course.
Well, that's true.
He needs to become a staple, and I'll tell you what, people love it. It could become the national dog.
Fly over to Luton, and you can have Barnaby walking both the dog and Tommy Robinson at the same time.
Well, if they take it to Luton, that dog's going to be in trouble, because a lot of those people who reside there, they aren't very fond of dogs.
It's only a cartoon, remember?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. But there's legs for days with this, Bob.
Oh, absolutely.
I've already got it storyboarded out, mate. Like this,
you could take it.
Light bulbs were going off all night
next
last
election.
night.
Oh yeah.
He'll be on the ads.
Pauline should buy her own dog, and they compare. The only it'd be interesting. Kelpie. That's the other dog. Beautiful dog.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what sort of breed of dog he was actually telling to sit down. My guess, if I'm guessing, I reckon if it was a Kelpie or something like that, and you're on a farm, my guess he's on there. He's got his camera there, and because the Kelpies are very energetic. And I bet you the Kelpies come round the corner, and it's probably got a rat in its mouth or a possum or something, and it's running up towards its dad going, oh, look, that's what they do. Look what I've got. And he's got, sit down, before he's got this dog jumping over him with this dead rat, which would have been a bit of a disaster. So that's probably what I reckon has happened. But
I reckon there's room for a fundraiser there as well. I'll tell you why. Because if it's a female, if it's a bitch, and if it's still breeding, those pups are going to go for a fortune at a future auction, which will go back into the coffers for One Nation. They can run with this, and it's tongue-in-cheek, but it's also fun. And if anyone takes exception to it, what's their problem with the dog? The dog's done nothing wrong.
Exactly. No, I like it. I like the way you're thinking, mate. That's I'd be surprised if you put that. If you've got someone, I work with because I got Malcolm Robertson. I know their person in their office, the main thing. I've got to know her quite well, but I don't know But I don't.
She's lovely, by the way. She's lovely. Yeah.
What's her name again?
We won't disclose that here, but
good.
She is lovely.
Yeah, no, she's a lovely lady, and I've had a couple of conversations now at length. I've got to get back to her because, like we spoke about the other day, I'm just a bit disappointed in the Victorian lot not getting their act together quickly enough. I think they're missing a golden opportunity, but anyway, hopefully they're better planned at this. But, mate, I love it. I reckon, in fact, you should get – you can't have Doe just one of these little doll dogs like Albo's got. It's got to be a real dog. Yeah, a working dog. A Kelpie would be perfect. Blue Heeler, probably another one. One of these, a German Shepherd, another one. Get a real dog that,
Barnaby's got a real dog.
Yeah, he would.
He wears real cowboy hats. He's got a real dog.
Well, if he doesn't have a real dog, he'd be able to get access to one pretty quickly, I would have thought.
Yeah.
So, and you could do, mate, you could actually also get it into where you might make an announcements for dog charities or home, the shelters and all this
Thank you
sort of
very
thing.
much. Now you're understanding how this works, and you'll also get the RSPCA to come on out and certify that everything is a-okay with this dog and it's in phenomenal shape. It'll be like when Trump gets the medical reports from the doctor. I've never seen a healthier dog in my life. This dog is so well adjusted, blah, blah, blah.
You know what would be good? At the next One Nation event, you have about half a dozen Kelpies sitting on the stage just down there, and you do a welcome to country for the Kelpies.
This is politics. This is the way it works, because you're looking at optics and you're looking at camera clicks and you're looking at what will take people's attention and bring it into focus on whatever you're trying to put out there.
You would get eyes on it. Absolutely.
It softens him remarkably as well.
Well, I would also ring in Pauline to soften her a little bit with the love. If she loves dogs, she loves people, because how can you not love a dog and, be a people person? No, I gold, mate.
Which is the whole reason why Elbo's been doing it with the dog. During Elbo's Women's Weekly spread, for goodness sake, in the women's magazines, when he's front of cover and they're doing the interpersonal thing, Elbo at home with lovely Jodie, God bless her, whatever, the dog's front and center.
Can you take
so people that hate Elbo can go, oh yeah, I don't like him, but I really love that dog. That dog's gorgeous, or whatever they want to say. But this is the way you soften the tough exterior. This is the way you win over the hearts of those who think you're a brute. And when he says, sit down, well, that's a bit brutish. So the way to fix that is, he needs to be licking an ice cream cone. Hey, dogs love ice cream cones, Bob. They love it.
Oh, no, mate.
It's a photo opportunity forever and a day.
Well, on that ice cream cone, you can do that driving through McDonald's as well.
100%. He can buy to actually, as a form of restitution to the dog for hurting his dog's feelings by scolding it on live television and embarrassing his dog just like that, Bob. Here's Barnaby. He's going through the drive-through at Macca's, and he says, I'll have 10 50-cent cones, please. Or they're $1 now because of Elbo's inflation or whatever, right? But I think they were 25 cents, then 50, and now $1. But he buys 10. He says, good boy, or good girl, or whatever it is. But
you know what he also could, mate, the ideas just keep coming thick and fast. When question time returns, now he wouldn't be able to take his dog in, but he gets one of those trainee guide dogs.
Yeah.
Because they can't say no to that.
He needs to become a patron of dog owners in Australia.
Yeah. And he brings a guide dog right as soon as they start question time, he walks into his seat, and before he sits down, he goes to the dog, sit down. In question time, and it's getting published to the entire Australian public. Mate, the commercial media would cover that from question time. Sit down. He's got to stand up and be loud when he says it. Sit down, because he'd get coverage. Mate,
I'm right there with you, like 100%. Of course, it works. It works without a shadow of a doubt. But I perhaps have said too much already. I may have let the cat out of the bag, but I will very strongly emphasize to them the necessity of doing this, if only to bring attention to many other things as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is fantastic. Okay, so where were we at? Okay. So the Bundy clip. There's one other one I sent you as well. Did you see Jacinta Allen's remarks? I think it was yesterday in Victoria. It might be in your Twitter DMs as well. If you just go up a couple from that dog clip, there should be one there with Jacinta Allen. And I may have captioned it once again, a slightly tongue-in-cheek. Let me just have a quick look. What did I send to you, Bobby boy? Jacinta Allen. So I think it's 5 up from the bottom or thereabouts.
Yeah, you got it.
Jacinta Allen warns Victorians that voting for One Nation. So they are losing their minds, Bob. And I think you're addressing this earlier on. The media are running cover for the Labor Party, who are desperately afraid and somewhat terrified of the continued ascendancy of Pauline and One Nation. And regardless of how much mud they throw at them to try to cast mud at them, then have them wearing that mud forevermore and therefore be untenable, people just aren't buying it anymore. And Jacinta Allen got on out there, and if you play that little clip from Jacinta, what she says, people are applauding. They're saying, damn right, we're now voting One Nation. Thanks a lot for telling us the reason why we're voting One Nation.
like, again, but it is the Trump effect.
And I'll also say this,
I'll get back to it.
It's also about fighting against and stopping a liberal one nation government that brings $40 billion to people and families. And that cuts into services. That cuts into opportunities. That means less nurses and less teachers are employed, less schools that are built, less hospitals that are funded. And also too, we've seen just recently the comments from the federal president of the Liberal Party saying that multiculturalism is a failed state, that diversity is not our strength. Well, that is a taste of what Victorians would see from a one-nation Liberal national government. The message that sends to our strong Victorian community, very clear, diversity is our strength. Our state is built on everyone who has come here for generation upon generation, have come as workers, as nurses, as lawyers, as small business people, this great state. So that is what I'm focused on, backing the future of this state and supporting every single Victorian in workplaces and no matter where they've come from.
That is actually, in many ways, mate, taking aside what she said there about the Liberals and One Nation. Funnily enough, she's preempted my merger thing. For her to be talking about how they're going to be less funds for hospitals and all this sort of shit and how they're trying to build the state, this is the same bitch whose colleagues, along with her, she was Deputy Premier all through this, inherited a debt in Victoria that wasn't that bad. It was in pretty good state. They didn't do much right, the Liberals, in that term under Dennis Napthine and whatever his name, Ballieu. But they didn't muck up the finances. So the state was in good shape financially. In 12 years, they've turned it into a basket case, a failed state. It was on Peter Credlin tonight, $200 billion in debt, and 10% of our budget or our revenue is going to pay for the interest on that debt. That's a lot of money that could be going towards hospitals, education, potholes, all that sort of thing.
It's millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions a day in interest.
Yes. Just on interest, we get absolutely nothing for it, like the Commonwealth Games. And yet she has the temerity to get on there and say another political party would do worse than us on wasting money that we can't spend on our services. I mean,
so we can set aside the debt. So she's saying, hey, listen, this is going to cost $40 billion in the economy. Meanwhile, she doesn't want anyone to look at $30 billion being snatched off the top of the big build.
Big build. Won't do an inquiry into it. They'll do an inquiry, and this got me in trouble this week. They'll do an inquiry into anti-Semitism, but they won't do an inquiry into COVID-19. They won't do an inquiry into $30 billion rort. That inquiry for Bondi should have been into radical Islam, not anti-Semitism. I'll cop some shit for that tonight. I'm going to have, tell me what you think of this. You got your dog idea. For everyone who won't come on and come here to talk to me, I think I'm pretty reasonable to talk to. On my morning shows on every Friday, I'm going to have an empty chair interview. So I'll put a picture up of the people that won't come on in here, and I'll put up their feeds and I'll put up their opinions, and then I'll have a discussion with them without their I think
that is not a bad idea. That's
so
a great idea.
That's going to be my empty chair Friday episode. So we'll start that this week. So, but it's just she's just such a disgrace. I mean, if she gets back in, and there's still a chance. I mean, the Liberals and I
let them have it. Let's. You know what? Let her get back in, because I want to hear what Tony Shaw has to say after they vote her back in again.
Yeah, I don't. I just want them out. We've suffered enough here in Victoria. You can have her up there on the Gold Coast.
We don't need that, mate.
No. Well,
don't you wish that evil upon us? We thought we had escaped the nightmare. We're doing our own thing up here in Queensland.
Well, Bolton, Peter Credlin said exactly the right thing today, because they've already started bailing them out. If Jacinta Allen and the ALP get back in, the debt is so big they will be going to the federal government for a bailout, which means every Australian at that point will be contributing to fix the mess that's down here. So everyone's got to hope that we can get them out. The hard part of Victoria is once we get them out, how bad are the books going to look? Because they're going to have covered up a lot of debt. I'll guarantee you. And every time this happens, like when Kennett took over from Kerner, the books were a mess. They were far worse than what they were expecting, and they turned that around. I'm a bit worried. Instead of 200 billion, you might have 300 billion in debt, and we're in all sorts of shit. Then taxes will go up, business. I mean, just this. I'll give you an example.
How the hell do you announce that the state is going to run the Commonwealth Games out of the sports capital of the Southern Hemisphere, one of the best states on the face of the planet with stadiums and infrastructure? You organise all this, you tell people the Com Games are coming, the athletes get totally G'd up for it, it inspires them. They want to break records at home, just like what they did back in, was it 2006, I think, Com Games from Melbourne? It was meant to fill a little bit of a void as well.
But there's your problem.
And then they say, nah, sorry, and we're going to pay hundreds of millions of dollars for the fee of not pulling it off. And then the Gold Coast says, hey, give it to us. We'll get it sorted. We can do it. And instead of the opening ceremony being at a full MCG in front of 100,000 adoring masses, it's at Metricon instead with 30,000. Now, fair enough. It was still great turnout, a great thing for the Gold Coast. But more importantly, the athletes deserve to be walking out there waving the flag proudly at the opening ceremony in front of 100,000. They stole that.
Are you talking about the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games?
Com Games. Remember, Dan Andrews was meant to bring it to Melbourne.
It's not going to Queensland. It's going to Scotland.
No. I understand that, but we filled the void. We stepped up at that time. Because Com Games had to happen, right? Someone had to do it, and everyone already purchased their tickets. Well, they were meant to be coming. It was meant to be taking place in Australia, and no one else stepped up. But
I think
it's remarkable that a premier could drop that ball, though.
Oh, it is. But where they dropped the ball and where you've got that part wrong is I don't know where the opening ceremony was going to be, but all the events were going to be held outside of Melbourne. They were going to go to the region.
It was regional, yeah.
Yeah. Now, the problem with that is you've got to have the capacity, for example, to host the athletes for a start, forget the spectators. And a lot of the regional towns just don't have that capacity. They should never have put it to the regions. It should have been based in Melbourne, where you had the hotel accommodation. You've got all the grounds. You've got all the events that you would need to be catered for. The swimming pools, the MCG. You've got the basketball
stand,
you've got the tennis court.
That. Yeah, the whole reason why the Albert Park was developed, they put the swimming pool in there.
Have those big events.
The swimming in 2000, it must have been 2006, was it? Yeah, in Melbourne. Yep.
Yeah, and they've got everything. They've got everything in Melbourne to do it. But these Einsteins said, no, let's go to the regions where their roads are covered in potholes anyway.
Well, the thing was that was used as a carrot to entice people that wouldn't vote his way, that lived in regional areas, to vote for him.
Yeah.
Because he was going to bring all this windfall to them, and he was going to somehow give them a form of cash injection by all these tourists that were going to come there and put them on the map. And then they tore it up. And then I think Dan Andrews, I think he pointed the finger back at them and said, no, you guys screwed us. I'm doing the right thing. I'm tearing this up for the right reasons because you tried to cost me more. But we ended up paying for nothing to the tune of tens of millions of dollars.
Well, mate, that and the picture recently that was the most frightening picture I've ever seen, which I think we talked about with Daniel and them, was when they had Daniel Andrews, Elbow, Wayne Swan, Jim Chalmers, and all in that room with Pratt.
Yeah, the cardboard.
And I'm thinking, what are these bastards scheming here? It can't be good for anybody. And they're now having their ALP conference. I think it's either in New South Wales or South Australia, where that actually. See, here's the problem, for example, what you're talking about before. Out of those ALP conferences, they will go to the politicians in Canberra and say, this is our platform, this is what you've got to push. It's not like it's coming from the minds of the cabinet. It's coming actually from the trade union movement. And the trade union movement is now saying, let's get rid of our flag. Let's get rid of our past. We've got to be more aware. Because what are the unions dominated by now?
It is the manufacturers' union, Bob. Imagine factory workers in this country saying, screw that, we hate the Australian flag. But who imagine the union of all the factory workers saying, hey, this is what we're doing now. We hate this Australian flag.
Who are
Which
the
is hanging
union?
over your right shoulder, by the way.
Of course. Who are the union members now, though?
There you go.
Who are they?
Yeah.
Predominant. So, you know, we're supposed to be
They're not the Greeks and Italians that ran all the factories back in the day and bought 2 houses because of the upward mobility that Australia afforded to them if they were willing to work and be entrepreneurial and bust their asses so their kids could go on to do great things.
Now we better get onto this one because we didn't get her on enough. Judy B, she's back again.
Let's
with
go,
a few
Judy.
comments. I tried
Drop your
to.
Twitter handle. How can people follow Judy on Twitter?
It's a good point, Judy. If you send me your Twitter handle, we'll get you a few follows. We'll go. I tried to get. Let's see if I'll try it again. I don't know what I'm doing. So I get some comments. So I think it only.
She was all over it. She said Kelpie first, of course.
She
and
did.
Then the red healer.
I can't. Oh, here we go. That's how I scroll it. Now I got it. So Judy, Tanya Plebiscik on, I think, the Today Show.
Today or Sunrise.
Yeah.
Find those clips.
So she did a similar attack, chastising, ridiculing One Nation for wanting to deport immigrants. But when she was questioned about these illegal immigrants, she said she agrees illegal immigrants should be deported. It was actually quite interesting that they had James Ashby on the Paul Murray show. No, I can't stand Paul Murray. But, you know, they're talking. Oh, God, now that's going up. I can't.
Just on Paul Murray for a second.
Can't
Why
scroll.
does he act like a fairy during his show? He puts on this, and excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, but Paul Murray puts on the gay voice, like that, the high
Why'd you
pitch,
say
high
excuse me?
tone,
You can
and
say
all
gay.
the mannerisms. He does this gay little shtick on his show when he's interacting with some of his guests, and I just don't get it, Paul. I've spoken to you about it previously, but I saw it again only in the last 48 hours.
You're very well connected, but he just he just sort of one of these guys. He flip flops and he goes with the flow. I thought his brown nosing of Scott Morrison and Peter Dutton was embarrassing.
Makes you want to vomit.
Yeah. It's just, and it wasn't long ago when I first watched him, it was all right because he was talking about the minor parties and he's stomping his feet and all that. But then he flipped and he went back to the majors, and then even when he went over to see Trump, it was just too brown nosy-ish. Go interview him, do a proper interview, but don't suck up his ass. It's
He's
just
a fanboy. He's a fanboy.
Yeah, very much so. Anyway.
He uses his television program so he can fanboy other people here, and he loves getting amongst the V8 supercar crew as well. He loves going to the V8 supercars, and he thinks he's a man. He's a real revhead.
All right, let's keep going.
Paul, I love you, but come on, mate, lift your game. I've told you.
All right, Judy, another clip just a few seconds longer showing Barnaby explaining his dog was bailing up. The rest was cut out. I presume the dog was bailing up another. And hey, Judy, you and me on board. I said it would have been a rat or a possum. So we're both on that panic. Red heeler. Then she said Kelpie. Yeah, my bet it's a Kelpie. I've seen Kelpies before, and they're like German Shepherds. They want to be around their owners. And
can we ask Judy quickly as well, Bob? Judy, you always interact with Bob, so well done on doing that. Obviously, you think he's speaking sense. And this also, Bob, you may wonder, why has Ben come on my show? Bob, I would prefer having a chat to you to try to understand what's happening politically in this country. I can miss 2 hours of Sky News, mate. I hear the same stuff from the teleprompter readers all day long.
It isn't. It's regurgitated.
Right.
I 100%.
At least with you, I'm getting something real. If they were a little bit slick, perhaps, maybe Bob can be on a panel show once in a while on Sky News. No, but so the question for you, Judy, is, and thanks a lot for all your commentary on everything else you do as well, particularly on that show. But what's one question you'd like to put to Bob? By all means, if you type that up now, just something that pops into the mind. Hey, I'd love Bob to answer this question, perhaps. I think he would volunteer an answer for you if you put forward a question.
She might have logged off. That last comment was half an hour ago. So let's see. If you're there, Judy, put that question there. And also, if you want us to give us a shout out for your Twitter handle or whatever it is, let us know. I'll happily do that. So, mate, I was watching in Sky News. They're talking. What are they talking? They're changing their name. I don't know what they. Can't remember exactly, but it's a bit of a wank. And
News Australia, or it's something news.com news, whatever it is,
whatever it is. But outside that, you just get one news program, then it gets better later in the day. Like when you get Chris Kenny, sometimes he's good, a lot of times he's horrible. And he had a predictable sledge at Hanson, and I'm going, Jesus, mate, just give it a break. And he started on the Tommy Robinson thing, and I'm going, oh, God. You know, you guys must be...
News 24.
News 24, that's it. So people like Chris Kenny and Andrew Bolt, they must have purity in their background. They must have never done anything wrong. But like I get on really well, for example, with Jordan Ditloff. And I like Jordan because he's one of those...
libertarian. Have you spoken with him since his return from America?
No,
I'm over there.
No, I'm planning. No, I think he's back now.
He's back, yeah, he is. Okay, let's get Jordan on it. Jordan's been nothing but kind to me, so happy to have a chat.
Okay, Judy B. I'd love Bob to have a debate with Rod Cullerton about monarchy versus republic. Yeah, if he wants to. I'm open, like Judy. I've always said, get him my Twitter handle, get a DM, get him to reach out. I'll happily have anybody on. As long as, like with me and Ben, it's respectful, it's reasonable, we can have a legitimate discussion. I don't want those Piers Morgan panels, though. These evening ones, mate, I'm going to have to be stricter on them because these mornings are killing me.
Yep.
So instead of 5 hours, I might go 2 hours.
So, yeah, tonight is 2 hours. And so we've probably got, 10, 15, 20 minutes?
Oh, we'll go to 10:30, so we got 20 minutes. That's fine.
Okay, so Chris Kenny, Sky News is offering up something, but you prefer as it gets to later afternoon.
I don't mind listening to Peter Credlin. They have the Andrew Clennell show. I don't like Andrew Clennell. I think he's a pig of a man, but I actually think he makes some good political points. So I'm interested. I don't agree with them all.
He's a very serious one on Sky, though. He's the one that polishes them up and it gets everything. What about Danica?
Hold on. We got Judy with a question.
Yep.
Get her in before we run out. A question to Bob. If Australia went Republican, who would... I got to put my glasses on.
Who would you have as president?
Well, there's a good question. Probably the question is, who would I want as president? Because that's the people's choice. That's a good question. See, this is why I like it on the American style. I love the American presidential debates leading up on both sides, because there you get an absolutely microscopic look at each person, and you can make a judgment. And if they're bad, they're going to get found out. If they're good, they're not. So those presidential debate, if you remember the first ones when Trump went, and you had Marco Rubio and Trump going against each other, were gold.
Little Marco.
They were so good. And then Marco came back about his size down there. It was just, you could see Trump.
Hands. Look at my hands. Look at your hands. I'm all excited.
An Australian president. I don't know whether I'd want a current politician. That's a good question, Judy.
Have a think about it. Come back next week.
I will have a think about it. Judy, have you got anyone in mind that you would like?
Yeah.
Let me think.
Should it be also, Judy, should it be a female rather than a male, or it doesn't matter which? No, Bob. Just for argument's sake, because many people would say it would have to be a female.
Oh no!
I think it's fair to say we've already had a female prime minister, so we've shattered that glass ceiling.
Well, okay. Well, why do we have to shatter glass ceilings? If it's got to be someone, then the next one we're going to get, it's got to be Indigenous, or it's got to be Muslim, or it's got to be Jewish, or it's got to just the best person for the job.
Okay, take a guess. Pop shot, or pop quiz, hot shot.
Okay.
Who is Judy going to put forward? Who do you think, Bob?
Oh, I don't know.
Jacinta?
No, that would be good.
No. Someone outside of politics.
Okay, let's say someone inside politics. I was going to nominate someone inside politics right now. I'd probably go Alex Antic. Maybe.
He's polished, mate. When I
very good.
When you see him in the flesh, you're like, wait a second, you're 57, 58 years old.
Oh, right.
He doesn't look a day over 42. He is fresh.
Yeah.
And he looks $1 million. He honestly does.
Hold on. No, I can't think of anyone. Another reason why I don't. But the problem is, Judy, is if you went to a republic, we would go through where people have to nominate, just like everywhere else, and you get candidates, and you'd have to vet those candidates. You can't force anyone to be a nominee for the presidency. But if we go to, I mean, if you want to go down this, we basically, in every election, even though we're a party politics system, most of our elections are decided by who's leader. If that's not the case, why do we have these change of leaderships on both sides of politics all the time? So whether you like it or not, we're already voting for individuals to be our prime minister. It would be pretty much exactly the same thing, except the superiority of this is you'd probably attract better candidates because they don't necessarily have to be tied to the party politic. So they can be independent of that a little bit. You're never going to get full independence because whoever makes that office is always going to owe someone. I don't see how you ever get away from that. But that would be the best chance you have on it because they're accountable to the people. Now, let's say Ben wanted to nominate. Well, Ben could nominate. He could go up against me or we could get someone else going on there. You can be pushing that person or you can be countering that person in the debates and the people would then witness this and they'd have to make a decision on the current group of candidates. So that's no different. Actually, it is a bit different because you'd have a lot more people you could get behind. So, for example, if we had a presidential race, Angus Taylor could put his hand up, Jacinta Price could put her hand up, Michaela Cash could put the hand. You could have a whole range of them, and the person who does the best in the debate is the one you'd push from the right side. And the same thing would happen on the left side. A person who I like an awful lot because I've dealt with him a few times, I think he's a man of integrity. A lot of people don't like him because they see him as too much buddy with Israel, but I don't care. He's a man who doesn't care what people think, but his integrity is on him. And a person I would back actually would be a David Limbrick. There's one from left field.
Wow.
Yeah, mate, I've dealt with him. He's a good man. I don't care.
We're not saying he's not, but okay. So runs on the board. You're adjudicating it based on runs on the board and character. Character
and integrity for me would be huge. We to get away from this. What do we need most back in our politics? We need trust. How can you trust a person that's been in the political career mind when all you do is lie, cheat, backstab, sabotage? Limbrick has stayed away from that. And if you remember through the COVID years, he was one of the few that was fighting against the vaccines and the mandates and people's liberties and all that sort of thing. There was others there, but David has always impressed me. Jordan, he's probably a bit on the young side, but I have a lot of time for Jordan too. I've had some great conversations with him.
That means he's still got time.
Absolutely,
he's got youth on his side. Yep,
he can be vice president. But so someone like that, I'd like to see a non-politician, but I just can't think of one. You'd have to get one probably that the ideal person is a person, in my opinion, that has a lot of integrity, a lot of character, loves his country, and has a business background, knows how to manage an economy. So
what about Minister? Oh, sorry, Bob.
Yeah, right. Go.
I was going to say because I've thought about this. I'm wondering why the Minister for Small Business isn't the best example of a small business owner in the country, someone who has taken a small business, grown it to be the most profitable business amongst all small businesses in the country, who obviously understands how to hire people, who to terminate, understands systems required for business to make it sustainable, and be able to enrich himself or herself to a position where he is employing hundreds of people. He started at scratch and now he employs hundreds or thousands of people. Why? I think we spoke about it last week, actually. There was a young lady who's a minister in government and her husband who has been very successful, and they've now acquired a $40 million property portfolio. And people are wanting to sink the boots in, and fair enough, I understand the reasons why. But what we were ruminating on and considering is, why aren't they telling people how they got there? Why aren't they imparting whatever that true tale of their success was?
Yes.
And therefore outlining and presenting to people, this is the model we conducted. It may not work in all cases, but if many people try to replicate this, we believe that they will be able to attain upward mobility. And I think this is what is lacking. There's no practicality about some of these people who are holding some of these positions within government in regards to the wisdom they can share and then impart and provide an example to the rest of Australia how they got to where they're at. And maybe there could be reasons why they prefer not to do so. But I think in many ways it's now incumbent. And the reason why I raise that, Bob, is because prior to me jumping on this evening, a young guy here in the country who's got a few kids and he wants to have a few more, God love him, who's been happily married for close to a decade, who's been able to purchase a home, which he did early on, through tireless efforts in the workforce, busting his ass and slogging. Well, now he gave me a call and he said, Benny, I'm drowning. I can't keep up with this. The mortgage repayments, everything keeps on increasing every time. He told me he spends between $450 on a cheap week to $600 a week on groceries. And his children are under 10. And he's got 3 boys. So they're going to need more food.
Yeah.
Right. And he's trying to figure out what's he going to do. And he's dealing with so much stress at the moment, Bob, which is purely financial stress. He's a professional as well. He's doing good things out there. And he's gainfully employed and he's providing services which Australians want. But he's saying, this is getting too hard for me, mate. I can't keep this up. So he's made a decision with his lovely wife that they're going to sell up where they're at. They're going to take advantage of skyrocketing prices for homes. They're going to get out of that, which was their dream home. They hope to raise their family there.
Yeah.
And instead, he's going to move to somewhere rural. And now he's going to roll the dice, but at least he's going to have a cushion because the profit he's able to extract from his home will sustain them over the course of the next few years anyway. But most importantly, he's going to be able to eliminate this financial stress.
Well, that's a good move. I mean, and look, there should be.
But he's wondering, Bob. He's wondering, but this wasn't the way it was meant to be. I did everything right. I'm playing ball. I'm doing everything right. But the cost of living and the increased cost of my mortgage, future projections of that, this is insane. I can't afford $7,000 a month going to the bank. He's wondering how the hell is he meant to bring in $25,000 a month when he was already good, bringing in $12,000 a month and everything was going along nicely. And now he needs 25. And the kids can't go to private school and private health insurance. See you later, Charlie. And they're not getting a new car. Not that they wanted Ferraris, but...
So is he running his own business or is he an employee?
No, he does his own business.
Right.
If he was working for an employer, he wouldn't be making 75% of what he's getting now.
Does he work from home?
He's on the road quite a bit.
Yeah.
He does entertainment and things like that.
Right. Listen, this is going to sound really harsh. It's not meant to be. But if he's moving to a region and he's got a young family, that's actually, I'm going to be honest, that's a good thing. If I had a young family, I'd be moving to the country. I'd be getting the hell out of the city. Because of all those reasons you said, he's going to have all the stress less. A country upbringing for a kid is brilliant. You've got them away from all the crimes and the people, like they're young, so they're not. The problem in Melbourne, for example, a lot of kids go off the rails because of their peer groups. And a lot of these peer groups, look at some of the youth that are walking Melbourne streets, for example. And you get exposed to those now. They're going to get exposed even more now with this Islamophobia guidelines coming out that's going into the education system. So you're not going to have your kids getting exposed to a lot of that because at this stage, the last bastion of Australian values and integrity is actually in the country. Now, even if you didn't have all those things, I actually think there should be a bigger emphasis on providing careers for young families in the country because the country towns are screaming out for younger people to come in to reinvigorate them. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to live in the bloody city. It's why we've got all these issues around the city with crime, transport, infrastructure, hospitals.
Bob, I don't want to interrupt you. I want to allow you to continue on, but I said to him, what has been the key motivator of this? And let's set aside the financial stuff, which is whatever. He said it's crime.
There you
And
go.
I said, what do you mean? And he goes, my neighbours on either side, they've had their front doors kicked in. People have come on in, stormed the homes, and they want keys. And in both instances, they weren't home. So the occupants were not home. Thank goodness gracious. It was the middle of the day and mum was out and the kids were at school and hubby was at work. But he's looking at it thinking, this is outrageous. He lived in an area where he thought he would not have to deal with these types of crimes. But now he's seeing the encroachment of these criminals coming into his neighborhood. But secondarily than that, he has put up bars on his windows. He put up bars on his windows as a response of this. Iron bars on his windows. And he's been sitting in his house with iron bars for the last 3.5 months, which he put up with his father-in-law, by the way, because he's got young kids at home and his wife was terribly afraid because he works in the evening sometimes and does things in the entertainment scene. So he put up that to try to alleviate some of her stress and her concern. And he's been sitting in his house with bars on his windows. And now whenever they open the blinds, instead of having his beautiful Queenslander, big open windows, French door style and all that stuff, he's captured in his own home and trapped. And he's going, I'm in prison. I've welded bars onto my own windows and crime, Bob.
So he's living in Queensland.
Yep.
Is he? So in Brisbane,
in a beautiful Queenslander house and everything as well. Something built in 1912. Yep.
And the crime there is bad as here, huh? Okay.
Yeah. In a allegedly affluent, or well, not a super affluent area, but in a upper middle income area, which was the majority of people that reside in that suburb are people that work in the Queensland government bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So six figure salary. So everyone's doing okay. There's Prados in the driveway and things like that. But now they're being specifically targeted by criminal class that come from outer suburbs into there because that's where a nice little kitty is.
That's been going on in Melbourne for years now.
Yeah, I told him he needs to speak to Rebecca Judd because Rebecca Judd's bemoaning the fact this is now happening in Brighton of all places, and it shouldn't be happening in Brighton. But cost of living is exacerbating these issues.
The little bastards, they go steal a car, they load up about 4 or 5 of them, maybe more, and they drive from. Look, I can give you the name of schools of kids, or I used to be able to, but you still could go to them. And if you wanted to solve crime in Brighton and in the Bayside suburbs in Melbourne, I can tell you exactly which schools to go to. I mean, I used to work at a lot of these schools and did clinics for basketball, all this sort of stuff. So I went to primary schools, secondary schools and that, got to know all these kids. A lot of them are Islamic, a lot of them are Asian. So, you know, they're good kids. The sons of immigrants, but these kids are playing. The stories they gave me from some of what their schoolmates done. If you want to get knives on the streets, simply raid a few schools because all these kids have got knives shoved down their pants.
Are they going to St. Leonard's or MLC? Or
no, none of them.
St. Michael's?
No, you've got a lot of the private schools have got different issues. So I'm only going by rumor and innuendo. I've got to be careful here, obviously. But some private school students have told me that the drug issue in the private schools is the big issue.
Hey, Wesley College they've got problems there because those kids have means and they can afford certain things, and a lot of the time the parents aren't paying attention because they're skiing or whatever, and these kids attending Wesley at $25,000 a year or Scotch as well.
Well, let's not start naming schools, mate. We might get in trouble. So apologies to any school that was listening, but there are schools. You got the mix that is real dynamite. So if you've got well-to-do schools, if you don't have proper parental supervision, they're going to get into these troubles with the drugs because they have people. I'll tell you that they have people on campus that would sell drugs. Anybody that tells you that doesn't go on, you're in no-no land. I deal with youth all the time. So it doesn't start in university, it starts in secondary schools. So that's in your well-to-do suburbs. In your not so well-to-do suburbs, you're dealing with the crime element in the peer groups. They might have drugs or whatever, but they go raid houses so they can buy drugs off drug dealers to guess who they're selling it to. Some of the private school kids. So you got this vicious cycle that goes around. And the same thing comes, where's the parental supervision of these kids that are driving around? That story that when you come on, a group between 15 and 20 So you got teenage kids driving around in a car, stabbing another teenage kid, causing either serious injury or death while they're committing crimes in wealthy to-do suburbs. So going back to your mate in Brisbane, if that's what's going on in Queensland and he's getting out, that's probably the best decisions he's ever made in his life. So he shouldn't regret it.
Yeah,
Plans change. And you know what you can buy in the country? You can buy some of the most magnificent homes compared to what you get in the city. Your dollar, you get bigger bang for your buck. And I'll tell you where you get bigger bang for your buck in certain things, because I looked up on Google a lot of their real estate agents. I was curious because I had a Yank and a Canadian come here. They just could not believe, it's not so much the price of housing, but what you get for what you pay. So I looked up a lot of the real estate agents in not New York or whatever, where you're paying a fortune, but just in some fairly recognizable states in America. They're not wrong. For $1 million, what you get in America is so much more than what you get in Australia for $1 million. It's just insane. It's
In Texas, a young couple can buy a brand new home for $299,000 US, and that may be 520,000 Australian. But it's 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car garage, underground power, backyard. Services everywhere, a school right there, backyard, 100%.
What do you get for 500,000 in Melbourne? A 2-bedroom apartment in a block.
Housing commission, if you're lucky.
No, it's not. It's not.
We're having fun, but yeah.
We are.
Are you getting a 2-bedroom unit in Cranbourne or Narre Warren or Clayton?
I don't know the prices out there, but around here you can get an apartment, a 1 or 2-bedroom apartment with $500,000. That's a lot of money for an apartment. If I was giving any advice, and I did this once, and I got slammed for it. So if a young person, let's say a son or daughter, came to me and said, "Oh, we can't afford a house," the thing I'd say, you can't afford an apartment. If you're on especially, here's the problem, right? We've demonized the institution of a family, husband, wife, and kids. This is the way my brother, who owns a magnificent house now, he and his wife dedicated 3 years at the start of their marriage where they both earned an income and they could put a deposit down for a smaller house, right? And then over the years, as his wage increased, and then she got jobs as the kids grew up, and she was a stay-at-home mum for a while until the kids were going thing. Then she could get a part-time job, so they had that extra, and they just kept elevating their property. But they were able to do that because of the base they built on the smaller property at the start. I think too many younger ones now are looking for the big block property before they're ready. Now, I understand it, but maybe just go small first, get into the market, let the market accelerate, though that might be a bit harder now. And then once you pay off that apartment, you've got a $500,000 deposit to put on a much better property, and you can go again with a much better wage. It might take you 10 years, but if you start at 25, by 35, you own your first property. So you go, and that's the way my brother did it. So it's still much tougher. I'm not saying it's not easy, but if you lower, and what your mate's going to find, he can do that and accelerate it much quicker in the regions. If he can make that
overhead comes down significantly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you'll pay off that property earlier.
So we need 21-year-olds or even 20-year-olds, if they're lucky. They should be looking at a studio apartment for themselves and it should be 250,000 for a 21-year-old. Okay, and then when he's 23, 24, he's ready to go 1 or 2-bedroom apartment between 200 and 500.
If he's got a 250,000, if he's got $250,000, he could get. And again, my brother, and I think this was sound advice. And I was on a bank wage. I thought I'd never get there, so I sort of gave up on it, which was silly in the end. But his thing, if you're going to go on a property, you got to have a deposit of 1/3.
Yep.
So if you're going to go on a property of 900,000, you need 300,000.
Yeah.
And that's the way they did it. So they kept getting property, paying off, getting property, paying it off. I'll tell you the other thing, if you're a man, even if you're a woman, become a builder, become a tradie who can buy a property, live in it, and renovate it, and make it better and then sell it, then move to the next one. Do that for 10 years
Mm.
and you'll be living in a mansion in your mid-30s because you've only got, when you watch The Block and things like that. I know of people, I knew of
And they
one.
build them double brick as well. Builders love double bricks as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I was talking to one guy that did this and his wife, and they had kids and all this sort of thing. And probably you might not get it as much now. They were clearing, doing that, 300 grand a year. It would take them roughly a year, 300 grand, got a property, sell it off, get the next one, make a profit. Now, you're not going to put that entire 300 grand into your wage, but you put it into your next egg for your next property. And each property, the more value you get from it, the bigger the profit you're going to make.
Yeah, it guarantees private health insurance, private school for the kids.
Yep.
A nice holiday.
A lot of the
Happy
decisions.
home. You're able to look after your parents as well on money like that.
Yeah,
100%.
I think this is where a lot of young ones have got to be real. And sadly, at governments again, we've gone away that everyone needs a stupid bloody university degree. Go get a trade. Go become a plumber, become a sparky, become a builder especially.
What type of cars do you see P-platers driving, Bob? Do you see P-platers driving claptrap $2,000 to $5,000 cars anymore, mate? Or what's the deal?
Mate,
so there has been a change. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes...
materialism?
It comes from TV.
Yep, trying to keep up with the Joneses. I want this. And
the Kardashians and all that. And you watch all these movies and all that, and everyone's got the latest thing. I had a shitty little Ford Cortina for my first car.
Everyone's first car should be the shitbox. But it still runs. It's reliable, but it's old. It's beaten up, whatever. And unless daddy is going to buy you a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 vehicle. But young guys today, they're financing $70,000 whips. As we call it,
ridiculous.
$70,000 on their first car. It's like, are you crazy, bro? Like, what are you doing? Man, I'll do okay. Like, it helps.
And the price of that deteriorates. You're not going to get that money back. Unlike property,
depreciating asset, 100%.
Yeah. The best car I ever had was an old shitty brown Kingswood beat up thing. And when you're a P-plater driver, you're going to hit a few things. You're going to hit posts, you're going to hit walls, you're going to hit, because you're just learning to drive.
You got wheels, man. If you got wheels, it doesn't matter what it is. I got wheels, boys. Let's go.
Exactly. As long as you go from point A to point B, forget the air conditioning, just wind your windows down. But the beauty of the Kingswood, though, is you had to learn how to park it, because mine was a 3 on the stick. Just one of those things.
Column style.
Yeah, and you had to learn to reverse park it and do all this sort of thing. But it actually made you a better driver. So now I've got it's an older, best car I've ever had, a 4-wheel drive Prado. So don't knock the Prados. Great car.
Great car.
Yeah.
Better than a Land Cruiser.
Oh, mate, the Prado I've got now, I bought it in 2009. It's a 2005. I've still got it now.
17 diesel, Bob, or what?
Diesel, yeah.
Yep.
17 years later, and I've barely had an issue with it. It's been the most magnificent car. But the Kingswood, though, because I drive a big car, a lot of them get these smaller ones. Get yourself an old beat up bigger car, because you become a better driver. You learn how to reverse park in a big car. You learn how just to keep in your lanes, all this sort of thing. I found once I got that car and then all the other cars that followed, it was just easy for me to drive and park and do all the sorts of things you need to do with a car. So, and especially like, have you ever driven a 3 on the stick?
I have, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So if you can drive that, anything on the floor, whether it's automatic or a 5-speed or something, it's just so easy. Everything becomes easier when you get into a normal car. But if you're just going to go into these, and it's, you know what? It's just a bit of fun. It's just, I had
is freedom, Bob. A car is freedom.
Absolutely. Get yourself.
It's also a job. If you've got a car, you got a job. If you want one, if you've got a car, you've got a job.
Yep. And the other part you've got is another trade. If I had my time over, the trade I would have been a motor mechanic. Mate,
you know how much
money they make?
Man, what are you getting? When was the last time you put your car in service and you have a look at what the bill is and it says labor? Yeah. It gives you units of labor, how many hours they spent.
Yeah.
Give me a ballpark of what number that is for you.
For me?
Yeah.
Well, fortunately with my Prado, I haven't had to go in much. The last time I took a car in,
most joints are charging $80 minimum.
Yeah, at least
$80 an hour for labour.
Yeah. So
crazy.
Well, and the other part is they're booked out for ages. You try if you've got a good comment, the one down the road, I've tried to get into them 3 times. They're booked out for weeks, and I need something done that week. So I end up driving another 20K to find a mechanic I can trust. But mate, they're all booked. They're all booked well out in advance. So you got virtually guaranteed work. It's good pay. It will finance your whole life. And here's the other beauty about a
trade. You don't spend anything on your cars, mate.
No. And if you do
save $10,000 a year just by being a mechanic, because you can do all your own stuff on your car and your missus's car, and you can do plenty of cashies and everyone's cool.
Mate, and the other part about a trade, and I don't know why they don't push this more often, is you can still start a trade at 16, your apprenticeship, all right? That means while someone's going to university and they're working all these odd jobs and they're not earning a proper wage maybe to 28, you started at 16, you got 12 years head start on earning a proper wage.
Yeah.
Most tradies that I understand, if there's any tradies out there who can correct me on it, you're earning at least 6 figures if you're doing well and you've got experience.
I know a couple of 20-year-old concreters that are on 120 a year.
Yeah.
And they got Raptors.
Yeah.
They're killing it.
Yeah.
And they're saving for a deposit, and their missus is happy as Larry. They've got disposable income coming out the yin yang. They're 20 years old, making 120 grand a year.
Yeah. Now the hard part for it is when you
they bust their asses, but
they do.
20, so
your hard part becomes when you form a business or a company for that trade, because then you got to pay those wages, and you got no choice. But that's
you
certainly
become a Scotty Challen.
Yes. Well, I think Scotty's done a good job. The stories he's given me,
phenomenal. Employs lots of young guys, gives everyone a shot.
Yeah. And that's probably the hardest thing to do, because you've got to meet your legal obligations on those pays. So, and that's all risk too. If the building industry goes belly up, as it has done, you're the one who goes bankrupt. You're the one who gets the bills. The employees might lose a job, but they'll get picked up pretty quickly with their skills, you would think, anywhere else. So if I had 2 sons today, I'll be saying, forget university. If you're not attuned for that, get a trade. Find a trade and learn it and get good at it. So your reputation goes. Don't go in there and be crappy at your trade. You've got to be the best person in your field, and then you've got an income for life. And even if you want, and one of the things I found, like through basketball and trying to avoid that, if I have a trade behind me, I can do odd jobs to keep me going in my other passion, right? And that you can actually make money from. I've done it with website design, but it's not the same as a trade, and especially now with AI coming in, website designers will be gone in 2 years.
The software engineers are all over X right now. They're saying, what the hell? We are being phased out of the game. We've got maybe 2 years max ahead of them.
Yeah.
Now, the upper echelon, the top 5% in that field of software engineering, they're going to be okay. But your sole operators who have been making 200, 300 grand a year for the last decade, it's coming to a halt quickly, and they're scrambling. They're looking for, what the hell can I do? Because they've got overhead, and now they're accustomed to a lifestyle. Most importantly, their family, their missus, she's accustomed to a lifestyle of 300 a year as well.
It's going to be interesting to see, and that floats down too. So, I mean, it's something I've been giving thought to with what I'm doing, because as a sports operator, I need those families that can come in and pay my fees. If you suddenly don't have them and that dries up, it filters right down.
Because it's disposable income.
Yeah. So
at that point, which employs so many other people, such as yourself and everyone else, because they're the luxuries of life.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, depends on the other part is, it just depends, like with all these conspiracy theories, right?
What about braces, Bob? All these kids out there getting braces, maybe in 10 years, parents ain't going to have the money for braces anymore for all their kids.
Well, 9 depends 10, on whether we move on to, what do they call it, that international wage?
Universal basic
income, which was talked about a lot during COVID. Remember they were going to have those tall buildings that went for hundreds of Ks and you live within those buildings, and everyone was going to be, what was it? You'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
Yeah.
Was that the comment?
Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum,
Yeah, and look, I can actually see that it'll be a sad old world. Actually, I can actually see that coming to fruition. Actually,
it's happening right now every day.
You'll have the mega rich, and for them to stay mega rich, they'll keep everyone else happy by putting them on a wage that everyone go, you know what, I don't have to work and I get this wage and I can survive and I can pay my bills. I'm happy. Okay, so that's what they're talking about. But the wealthy will get wealthier, the poor will get poorer. What do they call that back in England? You know, when you had the serfdom. You know, we'll be back in the serfdom thing, and your kings won't be the monarchy. Your kings will be the captains of industry that are making billions, if not trillions.
Literal aristocrats again. Yeah, the aristocrats will come back.
Yes. Well, hopefully I'm dead by the time that comes around. You can deal with it.
Bob, you're going to be fine. I'll tell you why you'll be fine. Because we've got life extension technology on the horizon. And life extension technology under a universal healthcare system will dictate that, hey, Bob, if you want it, mate, we're just going to 3D print it and we're going to hook you up. So you don't got to worry about waiting for an organ transplant from somebody who has unfortunately met their demise and we've been able to rush it to you by chopper late at night and you're on a list. Bro, we're just going to hook you up.
Oh, I hope not. That'd be horrible. Why does anyone want to live to 150?
A lot of people want to live forever.
Yeah, well, there's one way, mate. You like this. There's only one way you can live forever, and that's
Lord Jesus Christ.
Exactly. Go to him, and the sooner you can get yourself prepared for that and go to that. There's not going to be, from what everything I'm reading about it, obviously, that's going to be the most magnificent existence you can ever wish for. So why would you want to put that off any longer than you needed to?
I want Clive to live to 150.
Sorry?
I want Clive to live to 150.
Clive Palmer?
Yeah, mate.
Why?
He's a living national treasure. He
gives
a lot. He gives a lot back,
no,
Bob. Mate, the amount, people would be astonished. Literally astonished by how much he gives back every single year privately. It's
Gina Ronhart is supposedly the same. I've done a bit of reading. That wouldn't surprise me and it's a good thing. The super wealthy are in a position to do a lot of good, and you know what? A lot of them do.
And he's not Johnny come lately. He's been tithing for a bloody long time, plus even more.
Credit to, he cops a lot of flack for it, but credit to him for the money. He's at least a patriot. He tried to put his money in to change the country for the better, the way he saw it.
Did you see his announcement a couple of days? Oh, well, you wouldn't have seen it because in the Courier Mail up here, I've actually, let me pull this up for you.
Is he retired?
So Clive, just a quick shout out to Clive, friend of the program. Hopefully.
So he's the mysterious man you were telling me about last week, is he?
I'm not sure about that.
How many other mining magnates out there with ships are there in Queensland?
Well, they're trying.
I think you sort of gave it away. Didn't you tell me he put you onto my program? Was that the story you were trying to tell me?
We're not spelling secrets just now.
Okay.
Okay.
Clive, I like you already. There you go.
Mate, buy him a coffee. Buy him 1,000, Clive. Buy him 1,000 coffees.
Get in contact. I reckon to discuss something with you that could save Victoria.
I think he'd be good on the show. I think you and him would hit it off. I think he's a man of the people. I think he'd love you, mate. I really do. I think you two could have a yarn about plenty of stuff.
Well, similar. He's a bit older than me, I think. I think he's in his 70s.
He is?
Yeah, he's certainly a lot more richer than me.
No, he's a professor.
A professor?
He's a professor.
Go back to your article in the Courier Mail. What was it saying? Before we lose track.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I'm trying to.
We got to get back to Judy before we close up here.
Okay, pull up Judy, and I'll get to this.
So Judy made a comment on, and this is the Republic. America has a much larger population than Australia, more to choose from? Yes and no. We've got a bigger population than Singapore, and they seem to come up with some pretty good leadership. So I'm not too, it's the old quantity versus quality. In America, there's a lot of dickheads. So anyway, I'm not too sure population. I think you can find a good leader, is what I'm going to say. No, David Limbrick. So on the next one, David Limbrick, nice guy, but not strong enough. Yeah. Well, I used to say the same thing about Abraham Lincoln too. So
what about Ralph Babbitt for president?
Not a chance. I know you like Ralph. I'm not a fan. So, no.
Let's get him on the show. Let's get him.
I'll have anyone on a show. That's a different question. I'd like
med beds.
I'd like med beds so I could dial back about 40 years and give more youthful energy to push back government and help the current younger set. If I could push my life back 40 years, I don't think I'd be worrying about politics for 10. I would be really re-enjoying my youth for 10 years and then get stuck into politics. But what to do, and watch this guy here, more than I currently do. You're a legend, Judy. But if I had my youth back, I would. One thing I've learnt from getting older, I should have maximised my youth even. And I had a good youth. I've got to say, I wish I'd done more. So,
did you visit the grave of Elvis in your youth or something, Bob? Or
who?
Did you visit the grave of Elvis? What was your favourite concert before you were 30 years old?
I wasn't
the Grateful Dead or something. Who'd you go and see back in the day?
I didn't go virtually to any concerts. I didn't like the idea of concerts. Pubs, like what was big in my day was pub bands. Everyone, you go to a pub and there'd be a band live. You had some great local bands. So the big concert things just weren't my go. If the band, I will always, Australian band that I always love, AC/DC. My generation was raised on Akadaka. So Ralph Babbitt, I've got a guy, Drew. Do you know Drew?
Ralph Babbitt. I do. G'day, Drew. Drew's over in the United States, Bob. So Drew's been on Spaces for quite a while. Very smart guy, a young bloke who dearly loved this country, but he found love in the land of Trump.
Oh, there you go.
I think he's still residing over there, but he'd be a great contributor for a future episode, as a matter of fact. He's got his head screwed on correctly. He understands the numbers game very, very well. And he's got a broad perspective on societal issues as well. Ralphie Babbitt for governor of
Caramel. Where the hell's that?
I think it's somewhere in the Caribbean. Nice one, Drew. Thanks,
well,
man. We'll chat about that on Spaces, man.
We're now nearly 30 minutes past our closing time, so I hate to shut you up, Ben, but I've got to get up at 8 o'clock for my next podcast.
Yep, cool. So can I give you the exclusive with Clive? So
cool.
Courier Mail, and Sky's also reported on it. Quote, this is headline. Let me just read it verbatim. Clive Palmer's bold One Nation prediction for Pauline Hanson as the billionaire reveals major federal election plans. Mining magnate Clive Palmer has made a bold prediction about One Nation ahead of the next federal election as he reveals major plans to splash out on his own party's campaign. Clive Palmer has said he believes One Nation will outpoll the Liberal Party at the next federal election, predicting Pauline Hanson will become the future opposition leader. The billionaire also outlined major campaign spending plans for the UAP, United Australia Party, saying Clive himself is willing to drop $100 million ahead of the next election. Right. Speaking of the Courier Mail exclusively, Mr. Palmer said he thought Ms. Hanson would move from the Senate to the lower house and that her party would receive more votes than the Liberals. Oh, that's interesting. His prediction was based on the Liberal Party's current performance because we don't know what it is, quote. However, the mining magnate suggested Miss Hanson would not be able to retain a large number of her newly elected One Nation MPs in her party after them taking opposition. The One Nation leader had a track record with people who've resigned when they've been appointed as One Nation members, he told the publication. Quote, it is it's a difficult thing to stand at a national election with 100 or 150 candidates, Mr. Palmer said. Mr. Palmer, who had spent $7 million sending UAP brochures to households, also said he was willing to ante up $100 million on the party's federal election campaign. It comes after the latest Sky News poll revealed One Nation continued to lead the coalition in the primary vote. The polling conducted July 7th to 14th showed Labor had returned to the top of the primary vote at 28%, ahead of One Nation on 26%, the coalition on 20%, so on and so forth. So what Clive's banking on, he thinks Pauline's going to attain opposition, but just like Jackie Lambie abandoned Clive several years ago, and several others have since departed Pauline, he thinks because of the HQ directives, I guess, from One Nation to people who would win their electorates, a few of them will not be satisfied with that and will say, I don't want to dance to your tune, Pauline. My people voted me in. I'm the member of this electorate. And because you are unwilling to allow me to do my own thing and instead want me to fall into line with whatever you say from HQ, I'm going to resign from you guys. Now, that will give them an option to either go Labor, Liberal, Teals, Greens, or Independent. Clive thinks he can say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, jump over here in the lower house with me, UAP. So that's an interesting...
It's an interesting dynamic. I don't like, to be honest, I don't like it. And I think even Clive would understand this. I just think there should be something in our system that if you stand for a political party, let's say Jackie Lambie, and Clive spent a lot of money getting her into parliament, if she decides to resign from that party, there should be a fresh election. They shouldn't be just able to go and stay in that seat. You got elected as a UAP candidate or a One Nation candidate. If you decide to leave that party and move on, you don't get to keep the seat. The seat gets a by-election. That would snuff that out that quickly. It's ridiculous. I don't like it. I don't, because people would have
like it.
No, I don't, because if you're standing as a person representing One Nation or UAP or even the Liberals or Labor, that's who you're telling the voting public that you're standing for, right? So if your intentions are, well, I'm only going to stand there if I can do my thing, and if things don't go my way, I'm bolting over to someone else or becoming an independent, you've basically lied to the electorate.
Abandoned ship. They're abandoning the ship. Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah, so, and either that or let's say go back to Jackie Lambie, Clive would then, I think even a better system, because a by-election costs money, if a person leaves a party having won a seat standing for a party, that person has to leave Parliament and the party can nominate someone to replace her. Because the party's won that seat, not the individual. If she stood as an independent, then by all means go. But, you know...
They never would have won. If they were independents, they wouldn't have won. But no, your point is correct. There needs to be something done about that, because there should be loyalty, because they've got... Some people would allege that they have only attained to that seat based on false pretenses that they would remain there.
And it's not even loyalty to the party. It's loyalty to your electorate. Your electorate voted for you based on the fact that you were part of that party. You should see out your term. And then if at the end of the term you feel strong enough about it, then go stand in front of the electorate as an independent. And then we don't get some of these idiots that just get in Parliament. So good on Clive, but he suffered from the very same thing. He's saying Pauline Hanson was
100 million. What do you think about him throwing 100 million at it?
Here's my thing, and if Clive, you're listening, if you can throw 50 to 100,000 my way, I can make you an investor in my company. You get that back plus 100% at least, and I could change politics in Victoria, I reckon.
100 your way.
Not 100 million, 100K.
Yeah, 100 your way, though, will return him that plus.
Yes. Any investment.
Well, sir,
and
this isn't financial advice, so we don't want to go there. But even if that was on the horizon, people are going to come on board with something like that.
Yeah, and on top of that, over a 5-year period. So in Victoria, we're going to have the election. I think it's too late, obviously, for this election. But over a 4 to 5 year period, I could start up conservative hubs that could change, I believe, a lot of people's thinking in Melbourne. To get, and not towards any party, a conservative hub that gets people thinking about conservative issues, ideas, and policy to lobby towards Australian politicians and parties. I think you could change the dynamic in Victoria, and I'm happy to sit down with anyone because I've got a business plan to do it. I'm looking for investors now. So if Clive, if you want to send some money somewhere, come talk to me, mate. Give me a DM. I'll get you your money back.
Is that a money back guarantee?
No, Clive would understand in business there's no guarantees, but I think it's the way I've structured it is you basically got a front end business, which is the main core business.
Yep.
That's the one that's going to finance everything. But the business I'm dealing in would establish venues. And in those venues, you'd embed conservative hubs. And the idea is to put one in each LGA over the next 10 years, at least on the eastern side of Melbourne. I mean, you can expand this later on, but I'll be going to unless I get those, what do you call it, those printed organs, I'll be probably gone by then. So there's certainly ways and means you can get. It's one thing I've been thinking about. How do you get people like you and me, instead of just being on social media, how do we reach out to the youth? How do we reach out to others to get these? We've got to get as organised as the left. The left come together through universities, through their things. They come and do whatever. If you can do a thing that can bring conservative-minded people together where they can interact, know each other, form groups and start pushing back, then we've got a chance of defeating the left. If we don't do that, that chance will dissipate, and more, the left are going to take away our way of life. The only way you can, in the art of war, I think it is, to beat your enemy, you've got to know your enemy. So to defeat the left, we've got to be as good as the left. What's the problem with conservatives? We go about our lives, we pay our taxes, we follow the laws, we do all the right things, and then we get screwed over, because we don't fight like the left does. So we've got to find a way that we can gather together and get like-minded people to fight. Do a Trump, fight.
Well,
so
Judy's right there. Judy's there. Clive's there. There's people there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but they're not the ones you need to convince. They're already there.
You need
the ones you need to convince. There, yeah. I'll give you an example. So let's say Pauline Hanson's going into the next election. What's the media painting her as a racist who wants to big break the white Australia policy? Why are they doing that? Because MAGA
politics.
No, well, they want to put the wind up, the Asian community, the Indian community, all those. They want to convince.
Asians love her. Asians love her.
No, yeah. Well, not all of them. I talked to one.
The bad ones don't.
Well, no. Well, I'll give you an example. I talked to one mum. She was a Catholic. She's from China. We're talking politics. And she goes, she was centre-right because whoever centre-right, but we can't have Pauline. And I said, why can't we have Pauline? She hates Asians. She said, no, she doesn't. Oh, but she made that comment. I said, you realise that was 30 years ago. I said, I follow Pauline pretty closely. She's not a racist. She might say things against immigration. That does not mean she's a racist. But the left have planted that image inside their head. So they're the ones you've got to win over, the ones that quite aren't there. Because it doesn't matter whether it's Pauline or whether it's Barnaby. They're going to be painted as a racist. So you've got to find a way to negate that. Now, if we had something like 10 hubs in Victoria, in each LGA, and you were, let's say, One Nation, it could be any Conservative Party, it could be the Liberals if they split. But, you get them in front of, and you can publish it and promote it and get them in front of 300 people to put forward their policy platform and then be accountable to those same people, that can only be a good thing. All right? So I think there's a way of doing it. No, I don't think. I know there's a way of doing it because in what I've done, just through basketball venues, you can draw probably between, if it's big enough, 15 to 30,000 people a week regularly through your venue. Now, In AI, you've now got boards that you've got display screens. You've got boards on the front as they're walking in. You could have a little office for the Conservative Hub. You could have a whole bunch of things. You're collecting emails. You're collecting communication. You're sending
They're
out
good numbers. Great numbers, Bob. 10 to 15,000. Great numbers, mate.
Mate, big clubs in Melbourne have 15,000 members.
You're turning over. Yeah, you're turning over.
15. Now, if you
cash.
now, well,
recurring revenue.
Well, exactly.
10 to 15,000 at $20 a month.
And what do parents want to spend the money on? Their kids. Now, if you've got 8,000 kids, for example, a club I started back in '99, McKinnon would have about that many. They'd probably have 5,000 to 6,000. But you've got their parents coming through that venue. You've got their grandparents coming through that venue. You've got uncles and aunties coming through that venue. You've got the mates coming through the venue. You've got the parents' mates coming through the venue. It multiplies. So for every kid that comes in, you've probably got another 3 or 4 people coming in.
If one sibling is playing and he's the eldest sibling, rest assured the younger siblings are also coming through and they're going to play in that same team, that same game, most likely. And this is why St. Peter's in Bentley is successful. Are they still doing basketball at St. Peter's regularly, Bob?
St. Peter's in Bentley.
Yeah.
How do you know about St. Peter's in Bentley?
I heard it. I caught it somewhere, mate.
St. Peter's aren't doing, but I've done clinics at St. Peter's. Yeah. St. Peter's don't have a basketball club. They do have a footy club.
Yeah,
it was very good. Well, like before I did basketball, I coached footy. St. Peter's was the power club. I don't think they are as much anymore.
They've got the basketball stadiums at the school, though, don't they?
No,
they don't anymore. Okay,
they never did.
Oh, okay.
St. Peter's in Bentley.
Yeah, I might be confusing it with something else.
It's Bentley East. None of the Catholic schools around Bentley East, I know very well. None of them that I know of have their own gym. A lot of the public schools do. So Bentley Secondary College, on the back of my work, now McKinnon has 4 courts through that. At Brighton, again, we won that. They have 2 courts. McKinnon Secondary College, they have 3 different courts, but again, that's where we started. And because of all the money from that, the council built 3 courts at a place called GSAC in East Bentley, which we'd won and we're operating out of for 4 years, but there's a much longer story to go there. But one thing in my background is I know how many people you can get through. I know the communications you can do to with those people. And it's called subtle, I don't know what the word, but basically it's subtle indoctrination. You're putting subtle messaging out there. And you've got to remember, what parents who are taking their kids to the sport on the weekend, what are they not doing? They're not out there protesting. They're not out there waving flags. They're people who are trying to raise families, people who are trying to run businesses. They are the very core of what a centre-right political movement should be looking for.
Yep.
But the Liberal Party, and I would even argue One Nation Victoria, haven't got much idea on how to cultivate that. I actually have it. And not only, here's the beauty of it, if you got it up, Clive doesn't have to spend 140 million. You establish enough of these with conservative hubs that can bring people to conservative-minded people. These things make you money. You don't have to be spending a huge amount. And it's better than advertising an election because it's there every week, 24/7, every week. 52 weeks of the year pretty much, because when you're not running competition, you're running holiday camps. And you could be sourcing to other sports as well. If Clive really wants to find a way to get through to the general public, and Clive, if you listen, this is no disrespect, but you've poured millions into this before and it hasn't quite worked. Mm-hmm. If you come and talk to me, I could sell you on this, pitch you on this, and show you a way that works that doesn't cost you a cent.
And there we go, from the coach of coaches himself.
Clive, if you listen and talk to me. And on that pitch, I'll leave it as it is. But
Adios, Senorita. Yeah, the living national treasure.
And mate, I've got the whole business plan, the costings, everything for it. So
excellent. That's what we need.
And you know what it would be? Sorry, Clive, if you do listen. Yeah. I have the Templar cross on our club's logo for a reason. It would be Christian conservative nationalism. That's what I would be pushing through these conservative hubs. So
onward, Christian soldiers.
That's the one, mate.
All of that jazz.
We need a new crusade. How many crusades do they have? 3. We need a 4th one across the globe. We need to get our nation back onto that basis. And on that, mate, I reckon it's a great place to finish.
It is. God bless you. God bless you.
let me get, yeah. God bless you. God bless your kids. God bless your grandkids. God bless your pets. He's getting pissed off. I can hear him in the background. And God bless that flag in this country. Thanks, Benny. Australia versus Eugenia. Mate, if you get up early enough, I'll see you back here in the morning. Oh, my God. It'll be interesting to see how long I can last.
I'm actually flat out at the moment.
No, I can imagine.
I'm doing 18-hour days, but we've got to, because we give a damn about the country. We love the joint, and there's nowhere else, man.
No, absolutely. And there's no running away to other country. We just got to get it back to what it was. So mates like you, they can lead the way of life they want to lead wherever they want to live. And so it's not so extreme. They can't have their vision and their dreams fulfilled. So that's what we got to get to. Anyway, mate, good night.
Adios.